Chapter 1129. The howls continued, and Su Yun seemed to have turned the place into a purgatory. He seemed to have regarded these people of the immortal court as his prey. Those who wanted to escape were dragged back by him and stuffed into the tunnel. His action was extremely violent. It was unknown whether those who were stuffed into the tunnel were dead or alive. There were only a few living people left at the entrance of the tunnel. Most of them had already turned into a pile of rotten flesh. Their souls were trying to escape, but were forced back by his magic. At this moment, Su Yun's speed and strength had already reached a terrifying realm that even immortals could not describe, and he did not use much immortal chi in his body, so he did not know what was going on. The red-robed man looked at the tunnel entrance that was already filled with minced meat, and his entire body trembled violently. Although the aura that the other party was emitting did not seem to be devil chi, but looking at this method, he knew that this guy, he was 100% a devil cultivator, or rather, a demon. Su Yun first took care of the immortals who were escaping outside. He turned into a black light and scurried everywhere. Every time he scurried to the entrance of the tunnel, he would be able to capture an immortal. This dignified fifth stage, spirit profound, immortal was like a chicken in his hands. After a while, the tunnel entrance could no longer accommodate so many people. Almost half of the people brought by the armor general were either killed or blocked in the tunnel. The current situation was like hell to them. Looking at the gradually darkening tunnel wall, the red-robed man took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He finally decided to give up. This was probably his doomsday, and this immortal pond that all immortals yearned for. Perhaps today it would become their grave. Have you sent the news to the immortal court? The red-robed man took a deep breath and turned his head to ask. The news hasn't been sent yet. Previously, the Lord didn't allow us to send it. He said that he could take down these thieves. Now that he's dead, and we're going to be killed by him, the red-robed man said in a low voice, now that things have come to this, we have no way out. What we need to do now is to inform the various lords of the immortal court about everything here. Let them come as soon as possible and clean up this heinous person. But we have no way out, so how can we send the news to the immortal court? If we could get out, how can we do this? A person from the immortal court said while gasping for breath. Although there is no way out, it doesn't mean there is no way out. The red-robed man retrieved a thin and long flute from his interspatial bag with trembling hands. He took a deep breath, and his eyes dimmed without any signs of life. Seeing this, the bystanders cried out involuntarily, heart-piercing flute. A magical flute that can transmit the last thought in one's heart? The appearance of this item gave everyone a last shred of comfort. The red-robed man raised the flute and used the last of his strength to stab it into his own heart, Poochie. His heart was pierced by the flute. Fresh blood flowed out and directly dyed the flute's mouth red. The red-robed man's body emitted rings of red light as he slowly closed his eyes. Whoosh! At this moment, the entrance of the tunnel opened wide, and a terrifying pressure descended from the sky, crushing toward the inside. Immortal Court, Justice Hall. Chun Xinxing stood at the bottom of the hall, and on his left and right sat the lore masters of various departments. There were not many lore masters here today, but they all had the right to speak. And the person sitting at the top was the third-rank mysterious envoy, who was in charge of these fourth-rank envoys. Chun Xinxing, is what you said true? The lord at the top raised his eyebrows and asked in a deep voice. Reporting to Lord, what Xinxing said is absolutely true. That piece of cloth, Xinxing really did not know anything about it. I also do not know who placed it in Xinxing's cultivation pavilion. Chun Xinxing said with a face of sincerity. The person at the top thought for a moment and said indifferently, Xinxing, you have always worked under me. I still know your character. Regarding Gong Sun Lang's matter, I will not hold you responsible since it is your first offense. After all, he is already dead, and those who should be punished have already been punished. Let's turn a big matter into a small one, and a small matter into nothing. Thank you, Lord. Chun Xinxing hurriedly knelt down and bowed. However, this matter of the red cloth must be thoroughly investigated. Although the immortal court is huge, we must not allow any spy to sneak in. Humph, to behave atrociously in the immortal court. If this matter were spread, how would we still have the face to stand in the immortal court? This matter must be resolved as soon as possible. Rest assured, Lord, leave this matter to Xinxing. Xinxing will definitely give Lord an explanation within 10 days. Chun Xinxing hurriedly said, Good, I can still trust you. The Lord at the top said. Xian stood up and looked like she was about to move. This time, the higher-ups have entrusted the matter of the celestial pond to me, so there cannot be any mistakes. Although Qi Jin has met with some trouble, I believe that Hong Yin and the rest will be able to resolve it smoothly. The celestial pond has been set up properly. It is time for me to move. The surrounding rank 4 envoys immediately stood up, cupped their fists, and said respectfully, We respectfully send off Lord Envoy Xianglong. The greeting was extremely orderly, and no one dared to show any signs of disrespect. Xianglong swept his gaze across the crowd, and his dignified face revealed a satisfied expression. Xian clasped her hands behind her back and walked down. Unexpectedly, not long after she stepped out, a series of hurried footsteps could be heard. He saw the Ministry of Justice's Sha Yu holding a flute, rushing over quickly. When everyone saw this, they all looked over in unison. Sha Yu, who was dressed in martial attire, did not even have time to bow, and knelt down on one knee, holding the flute with both hands, presenting it to Xianglong. Xianglong stared at Sha Yu in front of him, and after a moment of silence, he said, Sha Yu, what happened? Reporting to Lord, there is an urgent message from the celestial pond. Sha Yu gritted her teeth, and her clear voice became especially heavy. Urgent message? Is this flute the urgent message? Xianglong frowned. Hearing this, Sha Yu immediately explained, Reported to Lord, this is the heart-piercing flute. There are a total of 2 pairs, and they are used to send messages. The other pair is with Sha Yu's dual cultivation partner, Hong Yan. Just now, Hong Yan's heart-piercing flute transmitted Hong Yan's last words. Chong Hong is already dead, and Qi Jin has also met with misfortune. Now, they have been forced to a dead end by the enemy, and I'm afraid they have no way out. Lord, Qi Jin's team and Chong Hong's team have all been destroyed. Saying this, Sha Yu's voice trembled and was filled with sorrow, but she was not sad about the immortal court's loss, but about the death of her dual cultivation partner. She did not know how the others were, but from the aura of the heart-piercing flute, she knew that Hong Yan was no longer here. When Sha Yu's words fell to the ground, the entire court became silent. Pairs of eyes looked at her. No one spoke, and no one made any unnecessary movements. Everyone was like a statue, standing on the spot, unmoving. Sha Yu was the same. She lowered her head, as though she was waiting. After an unknown period of time, this news of yours, is it true? The one who spoke was Xianglong, absolutely true. If that's the case, then my immortal court has lost a few envoys and a large number of immortal court members. If this matter were to spread, the immortal court's position would definitely be shaken, and its influence would be extremely far-reaching. I don't think you would dare to lie to me. Xianglong's face darkened and said, Let me ask you, who did it? This subordinate does not know. Sha Yu shook her head. Hong Yin does not know who the other party is, but I can be sure that the other party is only one person. One person? Xianglong's face darkened. All the envoys were secretly shocked. If the other party was alone to deal with so many immortal court experts, then without a doubt, the other party was definitely a spirit god realm cultivator. An existence in the spirit god realm was not something that they, the 4th rank envoys, could interfere with. Immediately take action. Lead the immortal court's troops to the celestial pond. Investigate the situation and seal the entrance to the celestial pond. Do not allow anyone other than the immortal court to enter or leave. Xianglong said, Yes. Everyone replied, I will immediately report this matter to Master, after which there will be specialized people to deal with it. Other than controlling the celestial pond, you have another mission, and that is to keep an eye on the person who killed our immortal court people. If he is still there and notices you, he will definitely escape. You must send people to follow him and find out what kind of deity he is. Other than that, you must do your best to save the souls of the immortal court people if the souls are still there. Xianglong said. Everyone nodded their heads seriously. If this matter was not handled well, Xianglong would not be the only one who would be in trouble. They, as his subordinates, would not have a good life. After all, Xianglong was the one in charge of the celestial pond. Go do your work, Xianglong said indifferently. He turned to Xiaoyu and said, Xiaoyu, come with me to see Lord. Then he walked forward. Seeing this, Xiaoyu suppressed her sadness and immediately followed. The others also dispersed and went about their own business. After walking out of the law hall, Xianglong's face was gloomy. He put his hands behind his back and walked forward at a steady pace. People saluted him on the way, but he pretended not to see them, only looking forward as if he was thinking about something. Xiaoyu did not know what Xianglong meant. If he wanted to see someone, it would be a rank 2 envoy, no one else. However, Xiaoyu was a rank 4 envoy. She would not normally see a rank 2 envoy, and the rank 2 envoy would not see her either. Therefore, Xianglong's purpose of saying this to her must be to talk to her alone. As expected, after the two of them walked to the end of the corridor, Xianglong stopped. He stood there for a moment, then turned around and stared at Xiaoyu. After Hong Yin sent you the message, you did not tell anyone else, right? No. Xiaoyu immediately shook her head. All right, let me ask you, in the message Hong Yin sent you, did he tell you whether the water of the celestial pond is still there? Water of the celestial pond. Xiaoyu was stunned. She thought for a moment. Then her expression changed. Chapter 1130. Seeing Xiaoyu's expression, Xianglong immediately understood. Looks like the water of the immortal pond is lost. Xiaoyu's face was abnormally pale. Her arms were trembling, and she didn't dare to make a sound. The immortal pond was extremely important to the immortal court. The mission of the immortal pond was given to Xianglong, and it was Xianglong who obtained it through his own means. This was the best opportunity to nurture a confidant. As long as he was in charge of the immortal pond, he would definitely be able to recommend someone to enter the immortal pond. In order to gain a stable footing in the immortal court, Xianglong had spent a lot of effort and connections to obtain this mission. But he didn't expect such a change to happen to the immortal pond, and so many people from the immortal court had died. In fact, there was still room for redemption. After all, there were countless immortals who coveted the celestial pool, and all kinds of beings could exist. However, if the celestial pool's water disappeared just like that, not to mention the fact that he would not be able to explain it to his superiors, just the fact that he had planned for so long and put in so much effort only to end up with nothing in the end, how could he be willing to accept that? Who is it that wants to make things difficult for me? Xianglong. Xianglong took a deep breath and said faintly. Although his expression didn't change much, Xiaoyu felt that Xianglong was incomparably furious. Xiaoyu. Yes. Don't tell anyone about this for now. Understand? Keep it under wraps for now. Let me handle it. When the results are out, I will personally announce it to the immortal court. Understood, Lord, Xiaoyu hurriedly said. Xianglong nodded and didn't say anything else. He turned and left. Xiaoyu heaved a sigh of relief after he left. For some reason, she felt inexplicably uneasy. Xianglong was a rank 3 envoy after all. This matter still affected him greatly. Xiaoyu looked at Xianglong's gradually disappearing figure, then turned and hurried back to her cultivation area. The immortal court seemed calm, but in reality, a storm was brewing. Over at the celestial pond, it wasn't peaceful either. Although the immortal court was mysterious and powerful, it wasn't an impenetrable wall. The news that the immortal court had locked onto the location of the immortal pond spread like wildfire in the following days. More and more immortals set their sights on the immortal court. Whether it was in the open or in the dark, the immortal court had been thrown into chaos by various immortals in just a few days. However, the main focus of the immortal court was to solve the problem at the immortal pond. Although Xianglong said that he would report this to his superiors and let them make a decision, he didn't leak this matter or tell any other immortal court members about it. After making some preparations, he led all his elites and the experts assigned to him by the immortal court towards the location of the immortal pond. If the celestial pool water was still there, then everything could still be salvaged. But now that the celestial pool water was gone, if he went up to report it, the consequences could be imagined. Thus, Xianglong decided to settle this matter first before reporting it to his superiors. Since the matter was already done, what he could do was not to change it, but to try his best to salvage the losses. However, Xianglong didn't know what he was going to face. At the Immortal Pond, the tunnel, which should have been sparkling and resplendent, was now completely blood-red. The air was filled with the thick stench of blood that could make even immortals faint. The ground and walls were covered with minced meat, and the air was filled with wailing and crying souls. The scene was extremely tragic, like purgatory. And in the center of this purgatory, the place that should have made countless immortals crazy, was now flooded with large amounts of blood. The limitless sword sheath fell to the side of the Immortal Pond. The person in the sword sheath looked at the figure standing beside the Immortal Pond through the sword sheath, his eyes filled with complicated emotions. The cocoon that Shangwan Mei Yang and Su Qing had transformed into was still on the right side, and Su Qing, who was in the cocoon, was still in a deep sleep, not moving at all, her body curled up, her body releasing waves of light. It was this layer of light that maintained the cocoon's existence. But Shangwan Mei Yang, who was inside, did not faint. She had always been awake. She hugged Su Qing tightly, her eyes wide open, looking at everything outside through the cracks of the cocoon. Is that person really Su Yun? She muttered, looking as if she had lost her soul. Her eyes were empty, and her small face was extremely pale. She had naturally seen everything that Su Yun had done outside. She could not believe that these immortals, who were usually high and mighty, would actually be like ants, completely crushed and killed by others. That cruelty, that ruthlessness, that coldness, that cold-bloodedness, it struck straight at her soul, straight at the depths of her heart. She knew that she would never forget this terrifying and soul-shaking scene for the rest of her life, and it was even difficult for her to walk out of this shadow. She was also an existence that had walked out of the Immortal Pond, but she realized that there was still a world of difference between her and Su Yun. Furthermore, the current Su Yun seemed to have lost all humanity. Just like a true demon, all of these people from the Immortal Court were wiped out by him without exception. Their blood was poured into the Immortal Pond, and the originally dried-up Immortal Pond had now turned into a blood feud. Shangwan Meiyang opened her eyes wide. She looked at the person standing beside the Immortal Pond, only to see him glance at the blood pool, and, actually, he directly walked down. Su Yun, what happened to Su Yun? She felt that the person she was looking at right now was not the Su Yun she knew in the past. Why did he change so much? Could it be that he was affected by the Immortal Pond? Crash, he had already submerged into the blood pool, and then the blood pool returned to its calm state. There was no longer any movement, just like stagnant water without any wind, without any ripples. Shangwan Meiyang stared blankly at all of this, her heart filled with panic and fear. She seemed to have thought of something. Her gaze turned, and she immediately noticed the sword sheath beside the Immortal Pond. Ling Qing, you must know about Su Yun's current state. She gasped for breath a few times, calming her turbulent heart. A moment later, she carefully walked out of the cocoon. Although the cocoon was extremely hard and outsiders could not enter, it was as if there was nothing inside. Shangwan Meiyang endured the discomfort in her heart and carefully went over. When she got close to the sword sheath, she anxiously reached out and picked it up, then quickly ran towards the cocoon. However, she was blocked outside by the cocoon. Helpless, Shangwan Meiyang could only lean on the cocoon and curl up her body. She wanted to leave, but she could not bear to abandon Su Qing and Su Yun. What should I do? Shangwan Meiyang bit her lips. She was completely at a loss of what to do. You have yet to digest all of the power of the Immortal Pond. Right now, you only have cultivation, but your foundation is unstable. If you don't quickly go into closed-door cultivation, I'm afraid that you won't even be able to enjoy half of the good fortune that the Immortal Pond has given you. Just then, Ling Qingyu's voice came out from the sword sheath that Shangwan Meiyang was holding. Hearing that voice, Shangwan Mei Yang's uneasy heart finally felt a little relieved. Sister Qingyu, you're finally out. Shangwan Mei Yang immediately asked. What's going on now? Su Yinhe, what happened to him? The power of the immortal pond is not a small matter. You should have a deep understanding of it. But the immortal pond does not raise everyone to the same realm, but it varies from person to person. Your foundation is shallow, so the increase in your strength will not be too strong, but it should not be a problem for you to protect yourself. But Su Yun and Su Yun are different. Su Qing'er is the reincarnation of a supreme expert. The energy of the immortal pond is most likely the energy of her reincarnation. The substance that you see wrapping around Qing'er is definitely formed from Qing'er's own qi. In the face of danger, her body naturally reacted, protecting her and you. Qing might need a long time, but fortunately, she should be able to move, but Su Yun's situation is a little complicated. Could Su Yun also be the reincarnation of a supreme expert? Of course not. How can there be so many supreme expert reincarnations? Ling Qingyu's voice came out from the sword sheath. The reason why Su Yun is like this, I guess it has something to do with the blood in his body. Blood? What's so special about his blood? I know a spell that is related to the limit of blood. When Su Yun was injured once, I healed him and discovered that the blood in his body was not something he was born with. That is to say, Su Yun had changed his blood once before. As for whose blood he changed, I do not know. This blood is very mysterious. It is not human blood. It is difficult to analyze. Hearing that, Shangwan Mei Yang was stunned. She had never heard of such a thing. There's such a thing as blood exchange? There are all sorts of strange things in this world. This kind of thing is not considered rare, but I don't know if it's intentional or not. But to Su Yun, this blood should have a different meaning. For example, right now, the reason why he is like this is also because of that blood. Ling Qinyu flew out from the sword sheath and stood beside Shangwan Mei Yang. Looking at the inside of the immortal pool, she said indifferently. Previously, when Su Yun was like a pool, the water of the immortal pool started to reject him. But Su Yun was stubborn and refused to come out of the immortal pool no matter what. In order to force him out, the water of the immortal pool almost bit his body to pieces. But when the water of the immortal pool just bit off his skin and blood flowed out, the situation became different. This blood actually directly swallowed the water of the immortal pool. Ling Qing, you had been watching from the side the entire time. She had naturally seen the entire process of the three of them enjoying the water of the immortal pool. Swallowed the water of the immortal pool? Shangwan Mei Yang felt that her mind was unable to digest all this information. The reason why Su Yun is like this now is probably because the blood in his body is transforming into the water of the immortal pool. Maybe that's it. Ling Qingyu said indifferently. Chapter 1131. Gulu Gulu, Gulu, the bright red blood pool released waves of strange sounds. The blood in the pool started to boil again. Shangwan Mei Yang stared at the pool, her heart feeling uneasy. Sister Qingyu, what should we do now? Shangwan Mei Yang did not want to stay here for even a moment longer. Since Su Qing'er could directly move, then it was Su Yun's problem. I don't know either. Although the blood in his body is special, but from the looks of it, it doesn't seem to be enough to deal with the water of the immortal pool. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gathered so much blood and absorbed it. You mean Su Yun is absorbing the blood? To be more precise, he's absorbing the power within the immortal's blood. Let's wait for now. Perhaps it won't be long before he absorbs the power within the immortal's blood, controlling and transforming the power of the celestial pool water. Then he'll recover. Although your strength has increased significantly, you haven't stabilized yet. I advise you to quickly meditate and make some preparations. Leaving the celestial pool now is not a wise choice. Ling Qingyu said. I understand. Shangwan Mei Yang nodded. She did not speak further, found a clean place, and sat down. She really needed to meditate and recuperate. After all, she had just come out of the immortal pool and fought with the people of the immortal court and was injured. This had a huge impact on her, and if she did not recuperate, not only would the effect of the immortal pool be damaged, even her own cultivation would be affected, and it might even regress. Shangguan Mei Yang sat down cross-legged, and Ling Qingyu slowly turned her gaze towards the entrance of the blood-stained tunnel. Today's matter was probably not going to be settled. The people on the side of the immortal pool had not left because of Su Yun, but the people from the immortal court were rushing over with all their might. The deacons of the fourth stage, who were under the command of the third stage mysterious envoy Xianglong, personally led the elites and headed over. There were tens of thousands of experts from the immortal court. Xianglong wanted to completely settle the matter of the immortal pool this time, and at the same time, he hoped to use this operation to blow up the matter. At this point, he no longer cared about the immortal pool. After all, the immortal pool's energy had been used up, and doing anything else was useless. The only thing he needed to do now was to find an excuse to deal with the immortal court. It would be best if he could capture these intruders. But even Qi Jin, Hong Yin, and the others had died at the hands of this person. So how could this person be an ordinary person? Celestial Dynasty Resources Department, Grade 4 Envoy Chen Xinxing, Celestial Dynasty Control Department, Grade 4 Envoy Zun Li, Justice Department, Grade 4 Envoy Xiaoyu. These top experts were all gathered by Xianglong. Xianglong liked to fight battles that he was confident in. He enjoyed the thrill of crushing his opponent. Even if his opponent was just a weakling, he liked to display all his strength and crush his opponents psychologically and physically. He wanted to crush his opponent without them being able to fight back. A few rank 4 envoys led the way at the front, while Xianglong guarded the back. Together, they pressed towards the celestial pond. Along the way, they saw many immortals of other sects also making their way towards the celestial pond. When they saw the immortal court, they all hid, fearing that they would be discovered by the immortal court. The various powerhouses of the immortal world had either received the news or confirmed their location. Some of them might have arrived long ago, but they just didn't show themselves. Some were just watching from the sidelines. It had to be said that the immortal court's repeated invasions had caused many immortals to speculate. However, no one could imagine what terrifying things had happened in the celestial pond. The immortal court didn't have the time to bother with them. News of what had happened in the celestial pond had yet to spread. Otherwise, these fellows wouldn't act like this. In less than half a day, the mighty immortal court team approached Cold Cloud Stone Star. Xiaoyu immediately dispatched an elite team to enter the tunnel the immortal court had set up beforehand to investigate the situation inside. Soon, everything around the celestial pond was captured by Xiaoyu and the others. There was no one. This was the result of the investigation Xiaoyu sent out. Apart from a few corpses and blood, there wasn't a single living thing. There didn't seem to be any signs of a fight. Xiaoyu was a deacon of the immortal court's Ministry of Justice, after all. He could see some clues. Since this wasn't a battlefield, it was undoubtedly in the celestial pond. Xianglong led all the rank 4 envoys to the temporary encampment of the immortal court built by Qi Jin. Looking at the flickering screen of flowing light, everyone had a solemn expression. Behind them was the entrance to the celestial pond. What had happened in the celestial pond? Hong Yin had used his life to pass on the news. What kind of existence had forced him to such a state? Send 2 people into the celestial pond to check out the situation. See if the demon that killed our immortal court's people is still here. The rest of you surround the celestial pond and seal it off. No one is allowed to enter or leave. Quick! Xianglong thought for a moment and said. Hearing this, everyone immediately took action. Xiaoyu took the lead and led the elites through the place of flowing light towards the entrance of the celestial pond. After passing through the flowing light, she could see the corpse of the guardian beast lying not far from the entrance. Seeing the corpse that was the size of a small mountain gradually vaporizing, she knew that the guardian beast had been dead for some time. However, compared to this, what made Xiaoyu feel even more uneasy was the pungent smell of blood in the air. She stared at the entrance and found that there were large numbers of dismembered corpses around the entrance. Moreover, blood was smeared all over the entrance, dyeing it red. Xiaoyu's body trembled as she sensed something. She carefully approached and looked into the tunnel. However, with just one glance, she froze, as if she had seen something extremely terrifying. The entire tunnel was filled with crushed corpses. This tunnel seemed to lead to hell. In this tunnel, be it people or equipment, they had all been crushed to death without exception. And in the depths of the tunnel, there was a chill. Xiaoyu stared at the end of the tunnel. In her vision, she could only see a smear of dark red. It was so eerie that it made her skin twitch. Could it be that there was only one color left in this world? Blood red? You two, go down and take a look. Xiaoyu took a deep breath and endured the uneasiness in her heart as she spoke in a low voice. The two subordinates beside her hesitated for a moment. Although they were afraid, they did not dare to disobey Xiaoyu's order. They could only bite the bullet and cup their fists. Yes. After saying that, the two of them circled around the tunnel entrance for a while before carefully entering the tunnel. The two of them slowly descended with extreme caution. Both of their faces were incomparably pale. The atmosphere here was simply too strange. Furthermore, the deeper they went, the thicker the pungent smell of blood became. When they were about to exit the tunnel, the two of them felt a little dizzy. However, at this moment, their attention was almost completely attracted by the scene within the celestial pool. Right now, the celestial pool was completely replaced by a color, and that was red. Blood and flesh were everywhere, and there was not a single complete corpse to be seen. Other than that, there was also a gigantic cocoon-like thing. Beside the cocoon sat a young girl, and beside the young girl was a sword box. It seemed to be very harmonious, and this young girl could be considered as the only scenery in this place that made people feel comfortable. However, for a young girl to appear in such a place, they were not in the mood to appreciate her beauty. The two of them looked at each other and then simultaneously drew out the sabers at their waists and aimed at the young girl. "Who are you?" one of them shouted loudly. However, the young girl's eyes were closed, as if she did not hear the two of them. Instead, a few bubbles emerged from the pool filled with fresh blood, breaking the strange silence. "Not making a sound? What should we do?" "Don't act rashly. Let's go back and report to Lord Xiaoyu first." "Yes." The two of them did not dare to act rashly. They gave each other a look and immediately fled into the tunnel. After a while, they came out of the tunnel. When Xiaoyu, who was guarding outside the tunnel, saw the two of them come out, he immediately shouted, "What's the situation inside?" The two of them hurriedly reported the situation inside to Xiaoyu. When Xiaoyu heard this, he was stunned. "A young girl? Is it just her?" "Yes." "Is she a demon?" "She is not a demon. She does not have any characteristics of a demon, and her aura is not demonic." "Then, what's going on? Didn't they say that this place was massacred by a demon?" Xiaoyu thought. "Lord, what should we do now? Continue to report to Lord Xianglong, or continue to investigate?" "When you saw that young girl, she was meditating." "Yes, she did not seem to notice anything. I called out loudly, but she did not seem to hear me. It seems like she is meditating. If she is meditating, then things will be much easier." Xiaoyu took a deep breath and waved his hand, shouting, "All of you guard here. I will go and invite Lord Xianglong over." "Yes." After saying this, Xiaoyu turned and flew towards the back of the flowing light. After a while, Xianglong, Chun Xinxing, Zun Li, and the rest led the immortal court army across the flowing light screen and pressed towards the entrance of the celestial pool. The dense celestial pool aura dispersed much of the pungent smell of blood in the air. With the entrance as the center, the experts started to arrange their formations and set up barriers. The others also started to use their divine arts to make preparations. The troops led by Xianglong were not ordinary people. They could also see the weakness of the tunnel entrance. "We have so many people while the other party is hiding in the celestial pool. The terrain there is narrow. If we fight, we will not be able to display our advantage in numbers. We should destroy everything here and completely clear out the celestial pool. That is the best plan," one of them shouted. The moment he said this, Xianglong immediately confirmed it. These immortals immediately started to move. They landed on the ground and started to cast their techniques toward the ground, intending to completely open up this place. Chapter 1132. Boom! Waves of muffled sounds came out. The surroundings of the immortal pool shook and a large amount of rocks fell from above. Shangguan Meiyang, who was in a meditative state, was immediately woken up. She looked at the commotion around her and immediately panicked. What's going on? The people of the Immortal Court have already started their attack. Ling Qingyu's voice came out from the sword sheath. Attack? Shangguan Meiyang was startled. Yes, they should have a lot of people. How can a small tunnel hold so many people? Furthermore, this place is extremely narrow and not conducive to fighting. From the looks of it, they plan to completely destroy this place and then deal with you. The immortal pool is gone, so this place is meaningless. They only have one goal, and that is to capture you alive. Ling Qingyu said. Shangguan Meiyang's face changed. She looked at the big cocoon, and then anxiously looked at the blood pool. It should be too late to escape now. But if Qing'er can leave, what about Su Yun? Is he still not done yet? Su Yun's situation is extremely complicated. Meiyang, I think it would be better for you to quickly bring Qing'er and escape from here. The immortal qi coming from the tunnel is too dense if I'm not wrong. I am afraid that an incredible immortal has come. You alone, it is impossible for you to stop these immortal court experts. In my opinion, you should quickly bring Qing'er and leave this place. If not, you will only die for nothing. Hearing that, Shangguan Meiyang's small face immediately became gloomy. How can I do that? She clenched her teeth. Su Yun has gone through so many hardships, allowing me to obtain the blessings of the immortal pool. Now that I am in trouble, how can I abandon him and leave by myself? But if you stay here now, you will only die in vain. You won't be able to change anything. At least, it can buy Su Yun some time. If he can convert the energy of the immortal pool water during this period of time, wouldn't that be fine? Shangguan Meiyang said. You sigh. Ling Qingyu still wanted to persuade her, but when she saw Shangguan Meiyang's determined eyes, she knew that this girl could not be changed with just a few words. Since you have decided, then fine, but I still have to remind you, if you're no longer a match, then immediately bring Qing'er and leave this place. Do not hesitate, your heart is good, but there is no need for you to kill Qing'er. Ling Qingyu said seriously. Shangguan Meiyang still wanted to refute, but she opened her mouth and nodded in the end. Send Qing'er into the sword sheath. Yes. Shangguan Meiyang approached the big cocoon and placed the sword sheath in her hands onto the big cocoon. The sword sheath released circles of light, and not long after, the entire big cocoon was enveloped by the light emitted from the sword sheath and quickly disappeared. Seeing that, Shangguan Meiyang immediately carried the sword sheath on her back. Boom! At this time, an enormous sound rang out. The immortal pond began to tremble violently. The earth quaked and mountains swayed. It was as if the world was going to collapse. Shangguan Meiyang pulled out her own weapon, but the moment it was pulled out, it immediately shattered. Most of her treasures were no longer able to match the strength of her current cultivation. She threw her weapon to the side and thought of the magic treasure that Ao Wushuang had given her. She immediately took it out and injected her immortal qi into it. But just as her immortal qi entered the magic treasure, the array inside was immediately shattered by Shangguan Meiyang's powerful immortal qi. She was still not good at using the immortal qi of her current strength, so she immediately felt extremely depressed. Seeing Shangguan Meiyang's flustered preparations, Ling Qingyu sighed again and again. It's better to save some energy. Your control over your immortal qi is too poor. But I can't blame you. No matter who it is, when their cultivation suddenly increases by leaps and bounds, no one will be able to adapt to it. What you need to do now is to calm down and face it bravely. As long as you can do these two things, even if you are fully prepared, your chances of survival will be the highest. Ling Qingyu said. Hearing that, Shangguan Meiyang nodded her head thoughtfully. Calm down indeed. What he needed the most right now was to be calm and not panic. If he panicked, he would be like a headless fly and would only run around randomly. That way, he would die even faster. Boom! Suddenly, a gigantic crystal fell from above, causing the immortal pond to shake once again. Shangguan Meiyang was unable to stand steadily. She felt that her body was being stirred up by the surging immortal qi. The crystal fell straight down, smashing into the blood pool. Seeing that, Shangguan Meiyang became extremely anxious. She immediately activated her immortal qi and struck the crystal. Bang! The crystal shattered. But this was not the end. With a kacha sound, a huge crack suddenly appeared on the crystal wall. Following that, the entire crystal wall collapsed, and countless of crystal stones fell down. Seeing that, Shangguan Meiyang immediately activated her immortal qi and smashed it. Although she could not accurately control the powerful immortal qi that she possessed, it was still extremely easy for her to use the immortal qi to smash people like missiles. The crystal stones were all smashed into powder, and the entire immortal pond was sparkling and resplendent, but the falling boulders were endless, as though it was raining. After an unknown period of time, when Shangguan Meiyang was gasping for breath, everything stopped. Shangguan Meiyang wiped the sweat off her forehead, raised her head, and her face immediately became serious. It turned out that the top had been completely broken by the people of the immortal court outside, and the entire immortal pond was exposed to the sky. The immortals that filled the sky immediately surrounded the place tightly. Not even a drop of water could leak through. One after another, their snow-white blades were aimed at Shangguan Meiyang's head. The mysterious immortal qi mixed with a bone-chilling cold intent surged over. There were tens of thousands of people from the immortal court here. Furthermore, the weakest among them was at least at the 5th stage of the spirit profound immortal realm. Shangguan Meiyang's small face was extremely pale. The fear in her eyes could no longer be suppressed. She could not deal with Hong Yin and the armored general previously. So how could she deal with these even stronger existences now? Everyone completely surrounded the place and saw a young lady carrying a sword sheath on her back standing beside the blood pool that was filled with blood. The young lady had a head of pink hair, and her clothes were stained with blood. Her face was deathly pale as she looked outside. Xiang Long, surrounded by Sha Yu, Chen Xinxing, Zun Li, and the others, flew over. Seeing Shangguan Meiyang, Xiang Long's eyes flashed. His eyeballs quickly sized up Shangguan Meiyang's body, and then said solemnly, "Void Vapor Realm." Then Zhou Hong Yu, with a bit of miraculous heavenly technique, he should be exploring the path of the spirit profound God. This kind of existence is indeed considered a strong expert, but if she killed Hong Yin, Qi Jin, and the others, that is definitely impossible. This person, most likely not the person we are looking for. But there is only one person here. Master, even if she is not the person we're looking for, she must know something. Zun Li said from the side. Chen Xinxing, on the other hand, had a dispirited look on his face and did not say a word. Not long ago, he had received news that Gong Sunlang's soul had been destroyed by Qi Jin. Qi Jin did not know the relationship between Gong Sunlang and Chen Xinxing, and only thought that he was an envoy of the immortal court, so he did not show any mercy. Hearing Zun Li's words, Xiang Long nodded his head, his gaze turned, and shouted towards Shangguan Meiyang. "Who are you? Quickly report your name." Shangguan Meiyang opened her mouth, but did not say a word. How could she dare to say her name? Otherwise, if the immortal court found the unparalleled sect, Ao Wushuang would be in trouble. What is it? Not speaking? Xiang Long's tone revealed a trace of impatience. Are you from the immortal court? Shangguan Meiyang clenched her teeth and finally spoke. Her main task now was to stall for time, and if she could stall for time, she would not be able to hold on for long. As long as Su Yun could successfully come out of the blood pool, he would be able to escape. The three of them had obtained the blessings of the immortal pool, so there was always hope for them to escape. We are naturally from the immortal court. I am the 3rd stage profound envoy of the immortal court, Xiang Long. Let me ask you, what happened here? Did you kill the people here? Everything here, was it your doing? Xiang Long asked in a deep voice. This is not my doing. Shangguan Meiyang thought for a while, then immediately said, Then who did it? A devil cultivator. She said, if she admitted it, wouldn't these guys immediately take her down? Naturally, he had to change the topic. As expected, hearing Shangguan Meiyang's words, Xiang Long frowned and immediately asked, Where is the devil cultivator? He escaped. Where did he escape to? This. Shangguan Mei Yang's eyes turned, then shouted. He seems to have escaped to the north. I'm not sure where exactly he went. Is that so? Xiang Long began to ponder. Master, this woman doesn't have any devil qi on her. Instead, she's filled with immortal qi. She shouldn't be a devil cultivator, so what she said might be true. Xia Yu said from aside. But she's still very suspicious, and I might not believe her words. Xiang Long said indifferently, then shouted at Shangguan Mei Yang, Who the hell are you? I'm just someone from a small sect. Small sect? What sect? 3 Immortal Sect. 3 Immortal Sect? What kind of sect is this? I heard that there might be an immortal pool here, so I rushed here. Who would have thought that I would be injured by that devil cultivator the moment I arrived? That devil cultivator was so powerful, I was almost killed by him, but luckily I was lucky and managed to escape. He seemed to be in a hurry and left without taking my life. After he left, I recuperated here, and when I was almost done, you guys came. Shangguan Mei Yang said with a serious face. So you're saying that you have nothing to do with this matter? Xiang Long looked around and said indifferently, This matter? What matter? My Celestial Dynasty's envoy died. My Celestial Dynasty's members were slaughtered. Xiang Long snorted. Hearing this, Shangguan Mei Yang's face paled, and she quickly said, I don't know this matter. I don't know. Let's not talk about whether you know or not. Since you're here, then this matter is related to you. Xiang Long waved his hand and said, Bring her back and slowly interrogate her. Yes. Shouts rang out. Chapter 1133. W. What? Hearing Xiang Long's words, Shangguan Mei Yang was stunned. Looking at the experts of the Immortal Court walking over, she immediately shouted, Stop! Do you have anything else to say? Xiang Long said indifferently, What did I do wrong? Why do I have to go to the Immortal Court? Are the people of the Immortal Court so unreasonable? Do you bully others indiscriminately? Shangguan Mei Yang rolled her eyes and said hurriedly, That's right. It's not that I'm unreasonable. I just hope that you can cooperate with us. There are too many things that have happened here, and other than you, there's no one else. If you don't cooperate with us, how can we find out who is the culprit and who is slaughtering the people of the Immortal Court? These matters must be investigated clearly. If you are from the Immortal World, you have the obligation to cooperate with the people of the Immortal Court. Xiang Long said indifferently, But the obligation is not to force me. I have the right to refuse. Take her away. Xiang Long did not seem to care about Shangguan Mei Yang's thoughts at all. After she finished speaking, he did not reply. You, how can you be so unreasonable? Are you still people of the Immortal Court? Shangguan Mei Yang was furious and shouted loudly. But the people of the Immortal Court did not care about her shouts at all, and directly pressed down on her shoulder, planning to subdue her on the spot, and brought over the iron chains with a sealing barrier. Seeing that, Shangguan Mei Yang's face changed. If she was caught, then it would be over. With the methods of the Immortal Court, she did not think that she would be able to keep the things in her heart. In that short period of time, Shangguan Mei Yang's mind was spinning, and very quickly, she made a decision that could not be reversed once it was made. She gathered her immortal qi and threw it towards the nearest Immortal Court person. Bang! The Immortal Court person did not expect Shangguan Mei Yang to dare to attack him in such a situation, and did not even have the time to defend. He was directly punched, and like a shooting star, he flew backwards and fiercely landed on the ground. Her terrifying immortal qi shook the Immortal Court person to the point that he did not even have the time to scream and immediately fainted. This scene caused the hearts of the surrounding immortals to jump. Xiang Long's eyes shone and snorted. You look weak, but you managed to knock out a 6-stage, spirit-profound, immortal expert with a single punch, and you still say that you are from a small sect? Help! Take him down. Yes. More and more Immortal Court experts rushed towards Shangguan Mei Yang. Shangguan Mei Yang immediately leaped up and rushed out of the crowd. Trying to run? Xiang Long harumphed coldly. He had decided to take action personally. He could tell that Shangguan Mei Yang's strength was extraordinary, and it would be difficult for these people of the Immortal Court to keep her here. Xiang Long had always been bold in his actions. Otherwise, he would not have sent all his forces here without informing his superiors. Seeing that Shangguan Meiyang was planning to use immortal qi to break out of the encirclement, he did not hesitate. He took out a golden treasure that looked like a bird cage and threw it at her. The golden bird cage spun quickly, and as it spun, the door of the cage opened and light shot out, directly enveloping Shangguan Meiyang. Immediately, Shangguan Meiyang felt a strong pulling force from the light, and her entire body uncontrollably leaned towards the birdcage. Shangguan Meiyang panicked. She used all of her immortal qi and rushed out frantically. Run. He had to run. At this time, he could only run. Shangguan Meiyang clenched her teeth, sweat dripping down her face. Now that she had escaped in front of so many people from the Immortal Court, the people from the Immortal Court would definitely hunt her down. If she could lure these people away, Su Yin would be safe. Although her cultivation was not strong, she believed that it would not be difficult for her to escape with the power of the celestial pool. As long as she succeeded in delaying the time, everything would be solved. However, in the end, Shangguan Meiyang had thought too highly of everything. She had underestimated the people from the Immortal Court and did not understand what Xiang Long, a third-stage profound envoy, represented in the Immortal Court. The difference between the third and fourth stage was huge. She spent most of her strength to escape from the golden cage, but she could not escape Xiang Long's next attack. Xiang Long's speed was extremely fast. In the instant he moved, he had already appeared in front of Shangguan Meiyang. His movements and the flow of qi were not something Shangguan Meiyang could catch, and when she reacted, a fist had already struck her abdomen like lightning. Shangguan Meiyang's entire body twitched. The intense pain almost interrupted her thoughts. Her small mouth made a wah sound. She spat out a mouthful of blood, and her body flew backwards, falling back into the immortal pool. Bang! Her body smashed into the ground, causing the ground to shatter. The terrifying force seemed to want to tear her body apart. It was extremely painful. Shangguan Meiyang's delicate body continued to twitch and tremble. This attack was simply beyond her imagination. Meiyang, are you all right? Seeing that, Ling Qingyu, who was inside the sword sheath, shouted anxiously. Shangguan Meiyang clenched her teeth, enduring the pain that almost made her faint. She said in a low voice, I'm fine. You're still saying you're fine. Ling Qingyu was not an idiot. Through the sword sheath, she could see that the light in Shangguan Meiyang's eyes was extremely dim. Previously, when she was fighting against Hong Yin and the armored general, she had forcefully endured it. Although she had some time to recuperate, but in such a short period of time, how much could she recover? Meiyang, listen to me. Save your last bit of strength and quickly escape. If not, no one will be able to escape. Ling Qingyu said anxiously. Escape? Shangguan Meiyang was startled, then laughed bitterly. It's too late to escape now, right? How can that be? I'm very clear about my own situation. I never thought that person would actually be so strong. Is this the third-level profound envoy of the Immortal Court? As expected, it is a world of difference from the fourth level. She stood up unsteadily, turned her head, and looked at the gigantic sword sheath behind her. Her pink hair scattered on her shoulders. Her expression was gloomy and helpless, and said, Actually, as a master, I am useless. All these years, I have not taught Qing or anything. If it was a stronger person who taught Qing, maybe Qing would not be in such trouble today. I'm sorry, Qing, Master has already tried his best. Maybe Master will not be able to protect you today, she said softly, then removed the sword sheath and quietly placed it beside the blood pool. Meiyang, what are you doing? Ling Qingyu saw Shangguan Meiyang's actions and immediately shouted. What Meiyang can do is to stall for time. Although I do not know when Su Yin will come out, I believe that if he can successfully convert the power of the immortal pool and come out, then he will definitely be able to resolve this crisis. Shangguan Meiyang moved her feet and stood at the front with difficulty. She looked at the people from the immortal court that filled the sky, and looked at the tall and mighty Xiang Long that looked like a god. Her eyes that were originally filled with fear and unease were now filled with bravery. This was bravery that came from conviction. This was bravery that came from responsibility. Are you an idiot? Ling Qing, you could not help but shout. Maybe. She laughed at herself. Then, she extended her hand and reached towards her chest, and a ball of light appeared in her hand. The ball of light was sparkling and sparkling. It was snow white and beautiful. From afar, it looked like a beautiful jade, causing people to be intoxicated. But around the white ball of light, it was filled with endless immortal qi. The immortals in the surroundings gasped in astonishment at the sight of this. Xiaoyu, Chun Xinxing, Zun Li, and the other fourth-level envoys all revealed astonished expressions. It's the immortal sphere. Seems like this woman has been preparing for this since a long time ago. Destroying an immortal eye, using all of her immortal qi as the foundation, using the immortal eye as the framework to construct an immortal qi bomb? I never thought that this woman would have such a method. The power of the immortal sphere is said to be determined by the amount of immortal qi. Looking at the amount of immortal sphere in her hand, I'm afraid it won't be difficult for her to turn this place into ashes. How should Master handle this? The few of them discussed secretly. Their gazes naturally shifted towards Xianglong. Although Shanghuan Meiyang had taken out the immortal sphere to threaten the people from the immortal court, Xianglong did not reveal an expression that was overly anxious or worried. He stared at the immortal sphere in Shanghuan Meiyang's hand and said indifferently, "This immortal sphere should have been formed in a hurry. You might not be able to control it well. If it were to explode, I believe that the first person to die would be you, right?" With that said, Shanghuan Meiyang's expression changed. "So what if I am? Since I can't live, isn't it better to drag all of you down with me? Die with me? Are you sure that this can kill us?" Xianglong snorted. His tone was filled with disdain. "Then do you want to give it a try?" Shanghuan Meiyang's face was filled with determination. She lowered her hand and was about to activate the immortal sphere. This slight movement of hers caused the immortals nearby to retreat in fear. None of them dared to step forward. Unexpectedly, Xianglong completely disregarded the immortal sphere. He sneered and crossed his arms in front of his chest, acting like he was watching a show. He said indifferently, "Since you want to give it a try, then give it a try." "What?" When Zun Li and the others heard this, they suddenly turned their heads and looked at Xianglong in shock. The surrounding people from the immortal court were in an uproar. They couldn't believe what they just heard. Shanghuan Meiyang's heart was pounding. She widened her eyes at Xianglong. Her hands were trembling. Was this final trump card of his useless? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Shanghuan Meiyang kept asking herself in her heart. However, she couldn't find an answer that satisfied her. It was as if she had fallen into a dead end. At this moment, Xianglong moved. He took a few steps forward and flew over. With the aura of a monarch looking down on the world, he arrogantly looked at Shanghuan Meiyang and walked towards her. Shanghuan Meiyang's small face tensed up, and she couldn't help but retreat. "Since you are unwilling to submit and are unwilling to release this immortal sphere, then in order to not waste time, I can only personally take you down." Xianglong opened his eyes wide and said coldly. With that said, he rushed over. There was no other way. Shanghuan Meiyang's eyes widened as she looked at Xianglong, who was approaching her. Finally, she clenched her teeth and made up her mind. She was about to move her arm and release the immortal sphere. Regardless of whether she succeeded or not, she had no choice. The only thing that could fight against Xianglong and buy time for Su Yun was the immortal sphere. However, just as she raised her small hand, suddenly a wet and sticky hand came out from behind her and grabbed her hand. Shanghuan Meiyang's body trembled, and she suddenly turned her head. Chapter 1134. What entered his line of sight was a person whose entire body was dyed red with blood. This person was drenched in blood, and blood was dripping down his clothes and hair. His pale white face was extremely beautiful at this moment, and his entire person looked extremely comical. But even so, Shanghuan Meiyang could still recognize who this person was. Su Yun. Seeing the blood man who suddenly appeared behind Shanghuan Meiyang, Xiang Long, who was rushing over, immediately stopped in his tracks and looked at the situation over there. He saw Su Yun, who was covered in blood, standing behind him, with one hand grabbing on a Shangwan Mei Yang's hand that was controlling the immortal sphere, and from the looks of it, he was trying to stop her. However, Shangwan Mei Yang did not forcefully use the immortal sphere. Instead, she had a happy and relaxed look on her face, as though all the problems had been solved. Looking at the blood pool again, it had already dried up, and the blood on Su Yun's body had slowly seeped into his skin. The blood seemed to have been guided by some kind of power and all drilled into his body. His originally wet body quickly dried up, and there was not a single trace of blood on his clothes. It was as if he was absorbing. Xiang Long carefully sized up Su Yun, only to realize that there was not the slightest bit of qi leaking out from his body. He was hidden deeply. At first glance, he looked like a mortal, but upon closer inspection, he could not see through his strength at all. I can't see through him. I can't see through him at all. Xiang Long felt that something was wrong. Su Yun, Shangwan Mei Yang shouted weakly. She immediately removed the immortal sphere in her hand, and the small hand that he was holding on it drooped down powerlessly. Are you all right? Su Yun smiled, the strange smile still hanging on the corner of his mouth. But this time, the smile made Shangwan Mei Yang feel extremely at ease. The pair of blood-red eyes looked cautious, but did not have much ruthlessness. I didn't... Shangwan Mei Yang still wanted to say something, but her breathing was not smooth. Her chest rose and fell a few times, and blood flowed out of the corner of her mouth. Seeing that, Su Yun did not have much hesitation. He immediately raised his hand and placed it on Shangwan Mei Yang's towering and soft chest and injected the immortal qi inside. Shangwan Mei Yang's entire body froze. Her eyes opened wide. Her originally pale, white face immediately turned red. She wanted to speak, but she was extremely powerless. Moreover, at this moment, a comfortable and warm feeling came from her chest. It was a wave of energy that seeped in from there. It was like a clear spring, soothing and nourishing the dried and cracked immortal veins in her body, repairing the damaged flesh. Shangwan Mei Yang felt as if she was in her mother's embrace. Her entire body was extremely comfortable and warm. Her eyelids became heavier and heavier, and she could not hold on any longer. Her eyes gently closed, and she finally fell into Su Yun's embrace and fainted. Qing Yu. Su Yun hugged Shangwan Mei Yang and called out, "Yes, I'll leave Mei Yang to you," Su Yun said, then took out the sword sheath, opened it, and sent Shangwan Mei Yang inside. "Be careful." Ling Qing Yu hugged Shangwan Mei Yang, who had entered the sword sheath, called out to Su Yun, and brought her to a sword discourse arena. With Ling Qing Yu here, Su Yun was naturally at ease with Shangwan Mei Yang's situation. He exhaled. The smile on the corner of his mouth did not diminish, even though there were countless people from the immortal court around, and they had completely controlled the place. Even though he was like a turtle in a jar, unable to escape, even if he had wings, he could still laugh. He was not mocking these people, but he was laughing evilly, a carefree laughter that came from the bottom of his heart. It was not that he looked down on these people, but he looked down on those so-called sanctimonious people from the bottom of his heart. He could not explain what had happened to him, but he felt that his comprehension was like a step up, and he had seen another level of new things. Xiang Long glanced at Su Yun. His might did not decrease, and shouted, "Who are you?" "Su Yun." "Su Yun? A nobody." "It doesn't matter if you haven't heard of it now. You might hear more in the future." Su Yun crooked his neck and laughed. "What about you? Who are you guys? Are you from the Immortal Court?" "I am the third-level Profound Envoy of the Immortal Court, Xiang Long." "Third-level Profound Envoy? Never heard of it." "Humph, ignorant and ill-informed. Hey, that's interesting. You've never heard of me, and you say I'm a nobody. I've never heard of you, so I'm ignorant and ill-informed? No matter what, it's all my fault?" Su Yun smiled again, but this time it was a sneer. "Are you people from the Immortal Court so unreasonable? To think that you guys keep saying that you are following the law. What a joke." "You." Zun Li and the others were enraged and were about to attack, but were stopped by Xiang Long. In the end, Xianglong had experienced many storms, and his temperament was extremely good. Facing Su Yun's provocation, he did not feel much anger, and only asked indifferently, "Let me ask you, the dismembered corpses on the ground, was it done by you?" "The corpses on the ground? These people from the immortal court?" "Yes, I killed them." Su Yun admitted it without hesitation. With that said, the atmosphere immediately became tense. Xianglong's face immediately became serious. "You are that devil cultivator?" "I am the true Devil Realm's demon lord, Su Yun. Qi Jin and the others all died in your hands, right?" "Who is Qi Jin?" "Sorry, I don't know their names. Some of them died too quickly, and I didn't have the time to ask. Some of them died too quickly, and I forgot to ask." Then, Gongsun Lang was used by you? It can't be said to be used, right? It can only be said that we each took what we needed. If he didn't have a guilty conscience, why would he find me? It's a pity that he was killed. I originally didn't want to harm him, but the people of the immortal court are too ruthless and are even worse than us, Devil Cultivator. Are you in such a hurry to deal with some mistakes before you can even investigate them? Su Yun smiled. Hearing that, Chun Xinxing's face became extremely ugly. He did not know who to hate Su Yun or hate the immortal court. After thinking about it carefully, what was the use of just hating? Xianglong naturally noticed Chun Xinxing's expression. His eyes flashed and said, "There's no need to confuse the public, since you have already admitted that you were the one who caused the matter here, and you have also admitted that you are a devil cultivator. Just these two things are enough. Now listen up." After saying that, Xianglong paused for a moment, and at the same time, his actions and words became extremely serious. "If you are willing to press your armor and give up resisting, then I, Xianglong, can guarantee that I will spare your life. But if you're stubborn and try to resist, then don't blame us for killing you. If you can kill me, then hurry up and do it." Just as Xianglong finished speaking, Su Yun spoke up impatiently. He dug his ears and said indifferently, "But if you guys don't make a move, then it's not up to you. Let me make the first move. Are you rejecting my suggestion?" "Yes, you." Xianglong was furious. This time, he could tell that this guy, called Su Yun, did not put him in his eyes at all. Regardless of whether it was his previous words or his current actions, he had an indifferent attitude. His heart sank, and killing intent gradually surfaced in his eyes as he looked at Su Yun. Arrogant. Just then, Zunli could not hold it in any longer. He roared and rushed out. When he moved, his body released a grayish-yellow light. The moment the light appeared, it quickly formed into a gigantic lion body, enveloping him completely. The lion body bestowed him with an extremely tyrannical might, and as he rushed down, the might became stronger and stronger, and the pressure became more and more astonishing. The surrounding immortals opened their eyes wide, watching Zun Li's sudden attack. Although Zun Li's attack was made on the spur of the moment due to his emotions and was extremely hasty, but the power, and chi of the attack were not affected in the slightest, and were still extremely abundant, especially the concept of the attack. As a fourth-stage envoy, Zun Li's methods were naturally strong and profound. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, he released a mysterious concept to guide the opponent, allowing the opponent to enter his concept and be controlled by him. At the level of an immortal, when facing an enemy, just relying on one's own methods was no longer enough to determine the outcome of the battle. One also needed to rely on chi, intent, and even the comprehension and understanding of nature. This attack was extremely brilliant. For Zunli to be able to unleash such a perfect attack in such a short period of time, he did not give the opponent any chance to retaliate. As a four-stage envoy, he did not lose face. Xianglong could also see the essence of the attack, and could not help but nod his head. It doesn't matter if you receive the grace of the immortal pond in this place, even if you are a god, you must submit to me. Xianglong muttered to himself. It was just that the moment Zun Li's seemingly perfect attack struck towards Su Yun, an unexpected scene happened. Boom! A loud explosion sounded out. The chi wave sent all the surrounding immortals flying, as though Zun Li's fist had struck something. Everyone naturally thought of Su Yun's body, and only Su Yun's body could withstand such a terrifying attack. The immortal chi was like a storm, tearing in all directions. Kacha, 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 the surrounding spar were all cut into strips. The terrifying immortal chi was especially sharp. Even the immortal pawn spar that could not be destroyed by ordinary immortal chi were like paper in front of it. Everyone's eyes were wide open as they looked at Zunli. At the same time, they were also looking forward to seeing a pile of minced meat after the dense, immortal chi dissipated. But reality disappointed them. Su Yun was not smashed by the fist. The attack that was filled with Zunli's anger was directly blocked by his palm. He just stood in front of Zunli, not moving half a step, like a huge mountain. From the very beginning, Zunli had an incomparably shocked expression on his face, because when the fist stopped, he could clearly feel that his fist was not blocked by the opponent's flesh and blood, but by the opponent's palm. When the fist was completely enveloped by the palm, the force of the fist could not move forward even a little bit. Chapter 1135. Humph. Humph. Zunli's arm trembled. His strength seemed to have been pushed to the limit by him. He gasped for breath. His eyeballs were slightly protruding out. His eyes were already bloodshot. If one were to look closely, they would be able to see that Zunli's arm that was swung out was at least twice as thick as his left arm. Within his arm, it was already filled to the brim with immortal energy. At this moment, he had already exhausted all his strength, but he was still unable to move the person in front of him. "Hey, is that all you immortal court can do?" Su Yun said, and then directly rapped his fist, and with a kacha sound, the fist that was coming at him was directly crushed into meat sauce without any obstruction. "Ah!" Zunli let out a heart-wrenching scream. Too noisy. Before he could even shout out, Su Yun extended his hand out again, grabbing onto Zunli's neck, and lifted him over, as though he was pinching a chick. The huge palm force caused Zunli to be unable to make a sound. His neck was completely deformed, as though it could break at any moment. Seeing that, the people from the immortal court were all shocked. Xianglong's eyes were filled with rage, and he immediately rushed out. "Bastard! Hurry up and stop. You should be the one to stop, right?" Seeing that Xianglong was rushing over, Su Yun held on to Zunli and said to Xianglong, "Stop. If not, I will tear him apart in front of you." Hearing that, Xianglong's expression tensed up, and his body could not help but stop. Seeing that, Su Yun's gloomy face recovered, and he laughed. "That's more like it. Bastard." Xianglong became even angrier. "Tell your people to back off," Su Yun said as he held on to Zunli, who was about to be crushed to death. "What do you want? I don't want to do anything. Get your people to back off, quick." Su Yun bellowed. His voice was filled with an attitude that did not allow for rejection. The anger in Xianglong's eyes grew stronger. He took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart, then raised his hand and waved it slightly. The people behind him immediately retreated over 100 meters. There was no need for him to fight with Su Yun over such matters, since they were already surrounded by the immortal court. Su Yun would not be able to escape even if he had wings. As long as he thought a way to save the rash Zunli, Xianglong would be able to attack Su Yun. "Yes, not bad, not bad." Seeing that Xianglong was obedient, Su Yun was very satisfied and smiled. "You guys are quite obedient. Do you like to waste time, or are you stalling for time?" Xianglong said solemnly. "Why do you care?" Su Yun snorted. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and said, "There doesn't seem to be any meaning in letting you guys retreat. All of you come closer." "What?" Zunli's face tightened. "What do you mean? I don't like to talk nonsense. If I tell you to come closer, then come closer. Otherwise, I'll tear him apart." Su Yun raised Zunli up high and shouted loudly. Xianglong secretly clenched his fists. It was obvious that his patience had reached its limit. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a crisp sound came out. Zunli's body twitched, and then his head actually fell from his neck. The head fell straight to the ground, accompanied by a spurt of blood and the frantic release of immortal chi. Without any warning, it just happened so suddenly. Zunli's corpse immediately drooped down powerlessly. His limbs drooped, his body had already started to emit light, as though his soul was about to leave his body. But the moment the soul flew out of his body, it was as though it was being attracted by something and directly drilled into Su Yun's body, and then disappeared. Zun Li had died a horrible death. Everyone's eyes were wide open. They could not believe what they had just seen. He died just like that. He died in such an inexplicable way. A dignified fourth-level envoy of the immortal realm. Deacon Zun Li of the Regulation Department. He died just like that. Chun Xinxing's mouth was wide open, and he was speechless for a long time. Xiaoyu stood there like a statue, not moving at all. All the people of the immortal realm were silent. Their eyes seemed to be attracted by magnets, staring at Su Yun, unable to make a sound for a long time. At this moment, it was as though even their breathing had stopped. Su Yun looked at the headless corpse in his hands and shook his head lightly. He threw the corpse away and said, sorry, I didn't control myself and used too much strength. I didn't expect the body of this lord of the immortal realm to be so weak. If I wasn't careful, my head would fall off. Sorry. I didn't mean it. His words were frivolous, and these people did not feel any sincerity. Furthermore, was there any use in apologizing? Kill! Xiang Long roared with all his might. This time, he could clearly see and understand it. Su Yun did not plan to talk to them nicely at all. He was simply toying with these people from the immortal court. Xiang Long's enraged kill shocked the people of the celestial court. They raised their blades and activated their celestial force. With an unstoppable force, they charged towards Su Yun with all sorts of celestial arts. Have you made your move? That's fine. I don't plan to end things like this. Although your immortal court is strict with the law, but you treat the demons and devils as enemies indiscriminately and always treat the people of other realms as superior, suppressing all living beings and even wanting to destroy the devil realm. I originally did not plan to become enemies with the people of the immortal court, but this time I have no choice. Su Yun said coldly. With a leap, a large amount of pitch-black flames shot out from his body. These flames were like raindrops. They shot out in all directions. It could actually ignite the immortal chi. The immortals that were leaking out from their bodies did not know what was going on. They were ignited by the black flames and died tragically. Today, I will weaken the strength of the people from the immortal court. Su Yun pondered. This was a third-stage profound envoy. If he died, the immortal court would definitely not dare to make a move against the true devil realm. Thinking of this, he pushed his speed to the limit. A snow-white blade blossomed in his hand, wantonly dancing. Wherever it went, a cold light blossomed. The immortal chi dissipated. Heads were thrown into the air, blood spurting everywhere. These people from the immortal court were simply unable to withstand a single blow from him. His speed was astonishingly fast, to the point where they could not even catch a glimpse of his figure. Wherever the black shadow and white light passed, a large amount of blood would appear. What cultivation level, what strength, and what methods did he have? The people of the immortal court did not know, not even Xiang Long. However, after just a few exchanges, he dared to boldly conclude that the other party was a powerful existence that surpassed the fifth stage of the spirit profound God realm. Seeing the bodies of the people from the immortal court fall continuously, Xiaoyu, Chun Xinxing, and the others were incomparably shocked. This was a massacre. This was a one-sided massacre. No one could stop Su Yun. These countless people from the immortal court were actually treated as nothing by the other party. Who the hell is this guy? Has such a powerful person appeared in the true devil realm? Master, what should we do now? Chun Xinxing shouted at the top of his lungs. What else can we do? Fight! Xiang Long shouted angrily. So many people had died, and so many experts had been lost. If he were to retreat now, the immortal court would not let him go. If he did not capture this person, not only would his reputation be ruined, he would not be able to explain himself to the immortal court, and it would not be easy for him to stay in the immortal court in the future. Xiang Long stared at the existence that was quickly shuttling through the crowd of immortal court, and immediately pounced over. With one hand forming a palm, he quickly formed a seal, and a circle of rainbow-colored light burst forth from his palm. Following a low shout, the light in his palm shot out, and within the light, there seemed to be the cry of a phoenix. His attack was extremely mysterious. He was clearly close to Su Yun, but Su Yun seemed to be 108,000 miles away. However, when this exquisite and peerless palm strike landed on Su Yun's body, it was actually unable to cause him the slightest bit of damage. His body only retreated a little symbolically and stopped, that was all. Xianglong's eyes widened. He could not imagine that Su Yun's body was so hard. Lord Mysterious Envoy, is that all you have? Su Yun turned his head to look at him. 5 elements, fusion power. Xianglong was not discouraged. He retracted one of his palms and quickly struck them together. A series of pa-pa-pa sounds came out. Every time his palm struck, a large amount of 5 elements god power would burst out. The moment this god power appeared, it would immediately fuse together, and a moment later, it would transform into a gigantic ball of 5 elements. Interesting. Su Yun kept his sword and immediately struck out with his palm, as though he wanted to feel the power of the 5 elements god power. Seeing that, Xianglong was enraged. Arrogant to the extreme. Do you think that with your methods, you can contend against my god power? With that, the god power struck towards Su Yun. Bang! The palm collided with the ball of elemental god power, and a terrifying explosion immediately spun out, causing the surrounding immortals to be sent flying, and those who were closer were crippled. The explosion shattered the surrounding crystal barrier, and with the 2 of them as the center, the surrounding 10,000 meters became a vacuum zone, and the so-called immortal pool had completely disappeared after this attack. Sha Yu and Chen Xinxing had retreated early, so they were not affected. After this attack, the 2 of them anxiously looked towards Xianglong. Although Xianglong did not dare to report to the immortal court, the 2 of them did not. They considered Xianglong's situation and understood his thoughts, but the current situation was critical. If they did not seek help, it would develop into an uncontrollable situation. Gradually, the clouds dissipated, the immortal qi gradually thinned, and the scene of the explosion slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. 2 people stood facing each other. One of them was Xianglong. He raised both of his hands, his clothes were tattered, his forehead was covered in sweat. He was gasping for breath, as though he had overexerted himself. On the other hand, Su Yun was holding onto his sword with one hand. His eyes were like torches as he stared at Xianglong. Although his face was pale, he did not look exhausted at all. Who was stronger and who was weaker could be seen at a glance. Chapter 1136. Do you have any other tricks up your sleeve? Su Yun raised the lotus star sword in his hand and said indifferently, Bastard. Xianglong was furious. He was about to make another move. It was obvious that he was not willing to give up. As a 3rd stage profound envoy of the immortal court, his status was extremely respected. Many people were respectful to him and did not dare to act impudently. Even the sect leaders of the great immortal sects had to bow to him when they saw him and speak politely. When had he ever seen such a provocative person? Su Yun's words and actions were like needles stabbing into his proud heart, causing him to feel unbearable pain. The more he thought about it, the more annoyed he became. The immortal technique of Xianglong also became more and more restless along with his emotions. However, Su Yun did not make a move while he was accumulating his strength. Instead, he stood at his original position and waited with an extremely arrogant look on his face. Ling Qingyu, who was inside the sword sheath, naturally saw the scene outside and could not help but ask, Su Yun, with your current strength, it should not be difficult for you to kill Xianglong. Why don't you directly make a move and wipe out these people from the immortal court? If you're still wasting time here, it will only cause more problems. I understand the logic. Su Yun secretly said to Ling Qingyu, who was inside the sword sheath. But you don't understand. Even though I have obtained the power of the immortal pool and absorbed a large amount of blood from the immortal court, the energy in my body has not been completely transformed. I need to endure a large amount of immortal qi and need to endure a large amount of destructive power to be able to transfer all the energy in my body, so I did not immediately get rid of Xianglong. Hearing that, Ling Qingyu had a puzzled look. She probably did not know what Su Yun was talking about. Su Yun organized his words and immediately said, Just like a person, if he is full and cannot digest it, then he will need to continuously exercise to convert the energy in his body. If not, he will be very bloated, and after exercising, the energy will be converted into muscles. But if he does not exercise, the energy will become useless fat. With this explanation, Ling Qingyu naturally understood, and also understood the reason why Su Yun was entangled with Xianglong. The four divine beasts engravings appeared around Xianglong's body. These engravings were vivid and lifelike. As though they were alive, they released roars, and following the gathering of Xianglong, they rushed toward Su Yun. His aura was ferocious, as though he could not retract his attack. He did not block, nor did he activate the thin imperial battle robe on his body. Just like that, he faced the incoming attack. Thump thump. The four divine beasts' picture seal solidly struck Su Yun's body. His body was immediately enveloped by the multicolored immortal power, and his entire body could not be seen clearly. The people of the immortal court immediately stopped casting their spells and stared at Su Yun with widened eyes. Everyone was nervous as they stared at their target. How they hoped that, after this attack, that person would disappear into thin air. Other than Xianglong, no one else dared to attack him. Even Sha Yu and Chun Xinxing were shocked by Su Yun's strength. Zun Li was instantly killed, and thousands of Immortal Court's men were killed. But he couldn't even hurt a hair of Su Yun. Such an existence was beyond their ability to deal with. The surroundings were extremely quiet, apart from the noise caused by the spells. Gradually, when the celestial force dissipated, the scene there once again appeared in everyone's line of sight. They saw that there was no one there. There was nothing there, and it was as quiet as death. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned for a moment. Beheaded Su Yun? No. Xianglong frowned. He suddenly turned his head and looked around. Su Yun could not have been killed just like that. He must have dodged this move. The people of the Immortal Court were not idiots. Although they hoped that they would never see that person again, there was not even a speck of dust. How could he have killed Su Yun? As expected, a cold intent rose from Xianglong's back. Behind him, before he could react, a fist smashed fiercely into his back. The huge force caused his body to fall from the sky. Bang! Xianglong was thrown into confusion. The celestial qi in his body was in turmoil, and the ground was split into pieces, almost shattered by the force. When he finally stood up, he realized that Su Yun had unknowingly stood by his side with a sharp sword pointed at him. In this period of time, Su Yun could have killed him at least 10 times. Absolute power. Xianglong's eyes widened, and his heart beat frantically. This guy had absolute power that he could not contend against. He did not even fight seriously with him. If he did, everyone here would have died long ago. Rank 3 Profound Envoy? Is his position in the Immortal Court very high? Su Yun squatted down, the tip of the Lotus Star sword pointed directly at his nose. When the surrounding people of the Immortal Court saw this, they became anxious, but did not dare to step forward. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't talk so much nonsense. Xianglong clenched his teeth and said in a low voice, "All right, I'll kill you." Su Yun did not waste any words, and directly slashed down with his sword. Xianglong panicked. He used the most inelegant but useful donkey roll to avoid the dangerous attack. But just as he thought that he had successfully dodged Su Yun's attack, 2 sword chi formed from immortal chi swept over, directly piercing through his chest. Blood splattered everywhere, and pain spread throughout his body. Go! Seeing that, Sha Yu could no longer hold it in. With a low shout, he pounced towards the surrounding people. These people from the Immortal Court had long been intimidated by Su Yun's powerful methods, and did not dare to fight against him. With Sha Yu's order, many of them actually hesitated on the spot. Seeing that, Sha Yu became extremely anxious and roared, "What are you all doing? Are you going to disobey the orders of your superiors? Are you not afraid of the laws of the Immortal Court?" When the words Immortal Court's laws were mentioned, many people's bodies trembled and their faces paled. They looked at Sha Yu, then looked at Su Yun, and finally gritted their teeth and rushed over. Some of the people who were still hesitating, Sha Yu directly raised his sword and rushed over, killing them. His iron-blooded methods caused the remaining people to tremble. Su Yun did not show any mercy at all. He directly threw Xiang Long aside and stared at the people from the immortal court who were rushing over. His sharp sword danced wildly. The sword blade filled the sky. It was so fast that it was almost impossible to find a trajectory. It was so sharp that it seemed as though people's souls were about to be separated. In less than 30 breaths of time, hundreds of people from the immortal court had died. Xiaoyu, Chun Xinxing, and the rest watched with trepidation. Seeing that Su Yun was attracted by the people from the immortal court, Xiang Long immediately activated his magic treasure and instantly moved to the side of Xiaoyu and the rest. Master, seeing that Xiang Long had returned, Xiaoyu and the rest anxiously rushed over. Xiang Long was gasping for breath. His face was abnormally pale, and his eyes revealed traces of fear. Master, I'm afraid we can't take this person down. What should we do now? Chun Xinxing wiped the sweat off his forehead and asked. Let's go first. Xiang Long gritted his teeth and bellowed. All right, Xiaoyu nodded and was about to give the order to retreat, but just as she raised her hand and was about to shout, she was stopped by Xiang Long. Let's just leave. Let these people hold up the rear without anyone dragging that guy. None of us will be able to leave. With that said, Xiang Long actually ignored Xiaoyu and the rest and turned into a ray of light, flying into the distance. Xiaoyu and the rest were startled, as though they could not react. Chun Xinxing immediately followed, but Xiaoyu hesitated for a moment. Looking at the people from the immortal court who were still fighting with Su Yun, she finally gritted her teeth and left. With a few leaders gone, the people from the immortal court were immediately shaken. They did not dare to fight with Su Yun. Now that the masters had left, how could they stay here and throw away their lives? Immediately, all of them started to flee. Are they running away? Su Yun looked at the tens of thousands of people scurrying around like headless flies and sneered. If he ran, then he wouldn't be able to continue playing. Immediately, he raised his speed to its maximum and chased after Xiang Long. The people from the immortal court along the way were not even in his eyes. Like a ray of light shooting towards the earth, Su Yun's speed was ridiculously fast. Even with the eyes of an immortal, they were unable to catch his figure. Xiang Long had suffered an attack from Su Yun earlier. His chest was injured. His immortal meridian was damaged. The immortal chi in his body was in a mess. And now that he was escaping, he was clearly unable to do so. Master, that guy's aura is approaching. Chun Xinxing shouted. He's catching up. Xiaoyu looked behind her and saw a dot rapidly growing larger. When she realized who it was, the dot had already surpassed her. Poochie! An ear-piercing sound came from the front. Xiaoyu turned her head to look and saw that Xiang Long, who was running in front of her, had his chest completely pierced by a sword. The person who was thrown off earlier was already standing in front of him. Xiang Long's body twitched continuously. His eyes were wide open as he stared at Su Yun, as though he could not believe what he was seeing. Su Yun held on to Xiang Long's shoulder and looked at Xiaoyu and Chun Xinxing with blood-red eyes. Since Xiang Long was prepared to escape, Su Yun did not plan to keep him. Kill! Everyone was forced into a corner and could only fight with their lives on the line. Su Yun held onto the Lotus Star sword. The sharp sword directly pierced through Xiang Long's body. His body was split into two, and he died miserably. His eyes became redder and redder, and his killing intent became heavier and heavier. Bang! Xiang Long's corpse suddenly exploded. The intense explosion directly turned all the people from the immortal court into ashes. But Su Yun's side was safe and sound. The Imperial Battle Robe automatically activated. All of the energy was converted into immortal chi, replenishing Su Yun. During the trip to the immortal pool, the Imperial Battle Robe had been transformed by the water of the immortal pool, and their abilities had also increased. This was something that Su Yun did not expect. He could not let any of these people from the immortal court go, not only because of his killing intent, but also because of his influence. If he did not exterminate them, the immortal court would abandon everything to deal with the true devil sect, so he had to cover up his tracks. From the very beginning, when Su Yun revealed that he was the demon lord of the true devil sect, he had already made this decision. None of the immortals here could survive. Chapter 1137. Corpses. Corpses everywhere. Blood. Endless amounts of blood. The sky seemed to have been dyed red. The clouds were already filled with blood. Zhang Xian's eyes widened at the horrifying scene. He felt as if his soul was about to jump out of his body. He had never seen such a terrifying scene. This place was like purgatory, sending chills down his spine. What's going on? What happened here? More and more immortals were rushing towards the immortal pond. Due to the immortal pond, the immortal court hadn't announced the qualification to enter the immortal pond as soon as possible. As a result, many immortal sects had ignored the immortal court's warning and began to obtain the location of the immortal pond through various channels and means. In the past, the information regarding the immortal pond's location would be much slower. At most, it would be known 2 days before the competition. But this time, the immortal court didn't announce the details of the competition at all. They didn't even set a time, as if they had no intention of organizing it at all. If the immortal court didn't care about this, how could the other sects just sit around and do nothing? But no one had expected that after spending so much time and effort to find the location of the celestial pond, and then rushing over to this place with all their might, what they saw was actually such a horrifying scene. Apart from Zhang Xian, the other immortals were also stunned by the scene before them. One of them walked over and stared at a relatively intact corpse in front of him, inspecting it. These are all from the immortal court. Immortal from the immortal court? Someone dares to kill people from the immortal court? Who has the ability to kill so many people from the immortal court? Is he planning to become enemies with the immortal court? Everyone exclaimed in surprise as they looked at the token on the corpse. But very quickly, these people seemed to have thought of something. Their gazes turned and immediately gathered at the central area. But there, other than the mess, there was only a dilapidated pool that had already dried up. Was this the immortal pond? But why was it already dry? Had the immortal pond been sucked dry by someone? Could it be that this place has already been taken by someone else? Zhang Xian blurted out. At that moment, there was only one reason that could explain it. Whoosh! At this moment, a gust of wind blew over, causing the smell of blood to fade a little. Everyone looked over and saw a large number of immortals flying over from afar. They were all people from the celestial court. Seeing this, the immortals immediately retreated. As soon as the experts of the immortal court arrived, they were immediately divided into 2 groups. One group went straight into the immortal pond to investigate, while the other guarded the surroundings as a precautionary force. A woman with long black hair and light armor descended. She had a long and slender scimitar on her waist. Her hawk-like eyes scanned the surroundings. Immediately seal this place. Without my orders, no one is allowed to approach this place. At this moment, the woman shouted out loudly. Her voice was filled with heroic spirit. Understood. The people of the immortal court immediately responded. On a place where there was no one, Su Yun, who was dressed in a black cloak, sat quietly. He closed his eyes and sat cross-legged, adjusting the energy in his body that had not been digested. Beside him was Ling Qingyu, who was dressed in white, pure and flawless like a fairy. At this moment, she was looking at Su Yun. Looking at her focused eyes, it was as though she was trying to find something from Su Yun or understand something. After an unknown period of time, who? Su Yun exhaled deeply, as though he was done meditating. After this, I'm afraid that the immortal court will enter an unprecedented and unusual period. During this period, it will be difficult for you to do anything you want to do. Seeing that Su Yun was done recuperating, Ling Qingyu took the opportunity to speak. Su Yun smiled and said indifferently, even a 3rd stage profound envoy lost his life. Furthermore, he died in this immortal pond operation. How can the people of the immortal court let this go? I believe that not long later, they will find out that it was all done by the demonic Qi realm. Hearing that, Ling Qingyu was puzzled. So you're saying that you haven't done it completely? It's not that I'm not clean enough. The methods of the immortal court are beyond my imagination. I'm afraid it's very difficult for anything to hide from them, even me. Su Yun shook his head helplessly. Thinking back to the methods of Kong Ling and Yuan Tianya, he could guess how mysterious the immortal court's methods were. The two of them were definitely not the representatives of the immortal court's strength. Since you can't hide it, then why did you kill them all? Aren't you angering the immortal court? In this way, the immortal court will probably attack the demonic Qi realm even more severely. Ling Qing, you could not help but say, if that's the case, wouldn't the true devil realm situation be even worse? The true devil realm situation has never been good. No matter how bad it is, how bad can it be? Su Yun shook his head. Furthermore, the immortal court will not find out so quickly that it was done by the demonic Qi realm. And after finding out at the same time, the immortal court will also be shocked because we were able to kill their third stage profound envoys and tens of thousands of experts without anyone noticing. This is something that even a super immortal sect would not be able to do. They might use all their strength to deal with the true devil realm, but they will also be even more afraid of the true devil realm. Su Yun stood up, stared ahead, and said solemnly, the current true devil realm can no longer rely on weakness to pretend to be pitiful, causing the immortal realm to ignore it and seek survival. If the current true devil realm does not have the strength to fight against the immortal realm, it will definitely be destroyed. I have received so many favors from the true devil realm, and have even obtained this body of devil blood. No matter what, I have to protect the true devil realm. In that case, you protected the true devil realm purely because of gratitude? This kind of thing can't be explained clearly. Then what do you plan to do next? Ling Qing, you asked. Let's take a look at Qingyur's situation first. Su Yun stared at the sword sheath and asked after a while, if everything goes smoothly, Qingyur will obtain a strong cultivation and return to the strength she had before reincarnation. Then, I can focus on dealing with the matters of the true devil realm. If she does not go smoothly, I plan to send her to the underworld. Send her to the underworld? Ling Qingyu was obviously shocked and immediately asked, why do you want to go to the underworld? The current Qingyur is no longer someone that the peerless sect can protect. Even the people of the immortal court do not dare to go to the underworld. I believe that they should be able to protect Qingyur. Su Yin said. He did not know what methods the true devil sect leader had to make the underworld provide a place for the people of the true devil realm to stay, but he believed that it should not be difficult for the true devil sect leader to provide another place for Qingyur to stay. Ling Qing, you did not say anything. How is Miss Shangwan? Just then, Su Yun spoke again. Her injuries are quite severe, and the consumption of her immortal qi is also very large. However, she was lucky enough to enjoy the benefits of the immortal pool. Just the energy of the immortal pool is enough to recover her losses. It shouldn't be long before she can safely walk out of the sword sheath. Ling Qingyu said. Su Yin nodded his head. Qingyu, I've troubled you. It has nothing to do with me. I'll make a trip back to the peerless sect first, and temporarily send Miss Shangwan back. Qingyur will temporarily follow me. She should be fine in the sword sheath during this period of time, right? Of course there's no problem, but I don't know how long it will take for her to completely convert the immortal pool's energy. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but the sword sheath isn't safe either. Su Yin took a deep breath and said, after sending Shangwan Meiyang back, I will immediately set off to find Sword Ancestor. The problem with the sword sheath must be solved quickly. If not, it will become a problem in the future. That's right. Ling Qingyu nodded. Su Yin did not hesitate. He leaped up and flew straight into the sky. The immortal pool was already completely controlled by the immortal court, and the corpses were being dealt with one by one. The immortals used spells to restore the original scene, but the other party seemed to be prepared and deliberately used an even more powerful qi to interfere with the area, causing many restoration spells to be unable to be used, and the progress of the investigation was very difficult. Damn it! After the long-haired woman heard the report from her subordinates, she gritted her teeth in anger. This matter could not be hidden any longer. After all, many immortals had seen the tragic state of the immortal pool, and once this matter was spread, the reputation of the immortal court would definitely be severely damaged, and if it was related to the immortal pool, the position of the immortal court would definitely be shaken, and the impact would be huge if it was not handled properly. It would probably cause even more trouble in the future. Chirp just then, a sound of something breaking through the air came from the horizon. Many people could not help but look towards the direction of the sound, only to see a ray of multicolored light suddenly illuminating the area. Previously, it was rather dim, but very quickly, the multicolored light became dazzling, and many people could not help but close their eyes, not daring to look straight at it. The long-haired woman was the same. She knew her own strength very well. A light that could make her unable to look straight at it must be an extraordinary technique. She endured the stinging pain in her eyes and forced herself to look in the direction of the light, only to see a bright red longsword falling from the light, piercing right in front of her. A moment later, the longsword blossomed with light and quickly transformed into a seductive and beautiful woman. The woman's skin was as white as snow, her exquisite body was curvy, and her long hair was as black as ink, hanging down to her waist like a waterfall. Her facial features were extremely exquisite, and her eyes were exceptionally charming, as if they could speak and release electricity. Her perfect body that could make men lose their souls was covered by a tight, fiery red Blademaster's robe, but it was extremely revealing, with the front of her chest and the side of her legs split apart, making her look particularly sexy. Seeing the appearance of this woman, the long-haired woman felt a little ashamed. Although the other party was very seductive, the seductive beauty of the other party was not something she could compare with. She took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice, "You are not from the immortal court, right? Who are you?" "I'm someone who can help you." The seductive woman smiled softly and said. Chapter 1138. Not long after, Suyin stepped on his flying sword and finally arrived in front of the Peerless Sect. Ever since he entered the Peerless Sect's territory, Ao Wushuang had received the news and hurriedly sent people to welcome Suyin. Suyin had a smooth journey and directly entered the Peerless Sect's gate. He did not follow Ao Wushuang into the hall, but flew straight to the training grounds. After a while, Shangwan Meiyang walked out of the sword sheath. This time, Shangwan Meiyang's temperament was even more agile, and her qi was even more profound. Although her Blademaster clothes were a little tattered, it could not hide her beauty. Her long pink hair was scattered messily behind her. Her skin was slightly red, and her facial features were extremely exquisite. Her body seemed to be a little tall, but her face had an indescribable feeling of youth. But her chest was extremely ample. For some reason, when Suyin looked at Shangwan Meiyang again, he realized that she seemed to have grown a lot bigger than before she entered the immortal pool. The effects of the immortal pool were truly comprehensive. He couldn't help but sigh. "Hey, what are you looking at?" If Qing'er saw this, she would be so angry that she would die. Just then, Shangwan Meiyang, who was at the side, suddenly rebuked. Su Yun was startled. Only then did he realize that Shangwan Meiyang's face was flushed red, and she was standing unnaturally in front of him, while he was looking at her with a burning gaze. He quickly retracted his gaze, coughed awkwardly, shamelessly changed the topic, and laughed. "Miss Shangwan, from the looks of it, you should be fine, so I can rest assured. This time, I still have to thank you. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid my strength wouldn't have increased so quickly." Shangwan Meiyang kept her shyness, bowed to Su Yun seriously, and said, "Su Yun, I don't owe you anything, but this time you risked your life for me. Meiyang is truly grateful. The current me is already someone who can peer into the spirit god realm. This realm, I can't even dream of in the past, but now I have it. All of this is bestowed by you. Su Yun, I really thank you." "Thank you?" Su Yun was startled, then laughed bitterly. "The one who should really thank you should be me, although I am not by your side, but I know a lot of things that have happened around you." "Is that so?" Shangwan Meiyang was startled. She wanted to say something, but her face suddenly changed. She became pale and started coughing. Seeing that, Su Yun sized her up and immediately stepped forward, holding on to Shangwan Meiyang's small hand. Shangwan Meiyang was shocked. Just as she was about to struggle free from Su Yun's dishonest hands, she felt that a lot of extremely comfortable and warm qi had seeped in her hands, and this qi immediately spread throughout her entire body. Very quickly, Shangwan Meiyang's pale face regained its rosiness. She quietly looked at Su Yun, and realized that he had his eyes closed and was in the midst of exhaling. Her face was once again flushed red, and a sense of shyness filled her heart. She wanted to retract her hand, but she did not dare. She did not want to look at him, but she could not, and was extremely conflicted. After a while, "All right." Su-Yun opened his eyes, stopped the transfer of qi, and said indifferently, "Although your injuries have just recovered, your immortal meridian is still too tender, especially your control over your qi. It is not considered proficient. In this period of time, you have to focus on cultivating your immortal meridian, focus on training your qi, and stabilize these 2 points, understand?" "Understood." Shangguan Meiyang nodded and said softly, "Yes, I will help you go through your body again and help you open up your immortal meridian. This way, it will be even easier for you to cultivate your immortal meridian." "Thank you. No need. You are Qing'er's master. There is no need to thank me for such a small matter," Su-Yun said, and started to urge his qi again. But just at this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside. The door to the cultivation ground was pushed open, and a group of people walked in. The people in the lead were Ao Wushuang and Shangguan Qingcheng. Everyone looked anxious, and upon entering the house, Shangguan Qingcheng quickly ran over, shouting, "Yang, are you all right?" However, everyone's anxious expressions suddenly stopped when they saw Su-Yun and Shangguan Meiyang. The clothes on Su-Yun's body were a little messy due to the journey, but Shangguan Meiyang was different. The clothes on her body could be said to be tattered, and she was in an especially sorry state. Especially at that moment, her hands were tightly held by Su-Yun, as though she could not get rid of them. Such a situation made people's imaginations run wild. Shangguan Qingcheng and the rest were startled, but Ao Wushuang was not the kind of person who liked to let his imagination run wild. But some people were different. A young man with short hair and dressed in a jade-colored robe anxiously ran over. With a face full of anger, he grabbed onto Su-Yun's arm and forcefully flung him away, not forgetting to shout, "Let go of her!" Su-Yun opened his eyes and looked at the angry man who was grabbing onto his arm and asked indifferently, "Who are you?" "You don't need to care who I am. You just need to know. Don't use your dirty hand to touch Meiyang, understand?" The man roared angrily. "Oh!" Hearing that, Su-Yun's mouth raised into a sneer. He stared at the man and said, "You don't allow me to touch her. You better scram." The man seemed to be extremely disgusted with Su-Yun. Su-Yun did not know who this person was. He had never seen this person before. But looking at the Peerless Sect people who wanted to stop him but did not dare to do so, he understood that this person was someone that the Peerless Sect could not afford to offend. However, just because the Peerless Sect did not dare to provoke him did not mean that he, Su-Yun, did not dare to. "Oh, all right." Su-Yun chuckled. He suddenly extended his hand and grabbed Shangguan Meiyang, who was beside him, and immediately pulled her into his embrace, both of his hands tightly hugging her slender waist, as though he was caressing her lovingly. The smile on his face became even more demonic. "I'm really sorry. I just want to touch her. What should I do?" Shangguan Meiyang was completely dumbstruck. She did not even know what was going on, but she could smell a masculine man's scent entering her nose, causing her to feel dizzy and her legs to go weak. Seeing Su-Yun's actions, the man was so angry that he was about to go crazy. He clenched his teeth, his eyes immediately becoming bloodshot. The immortal qi in his body was not suppressed at all, and immediately became noisy, gathering on his fist and fiercely smashed towards Su-Yun's head. "Stop!" Just as the fist was about to hit Su-Yun's head, a hand suddenly appeared from the side and grabbed onto the wrist of the fist, blocking it. "Uncle Ao, you want to stop me?" The man said angrily. "Nephew, don't be angry. This friend Su-Yun is actually treating my daughter's injuries." Ao Wushuang said. He could be considered an old fox. Although Shangguan Meiyang's current strength was stronger than his, he could still see through her. Hearing that, the man's expression slightly improved, but he was still suspicious. "Healing? What healing? I just like your daughter. I plan to make her my dual cultivation partner." Su-Yun did not seem to give Ao Wushuang any chance to step down. He continued to hug Shangguan Meiyang's body and said casually, "With that said, Shangguan Meiyang was so embarrassed that she could not even raise her head. Her entire head was buried in Su Yun's chest, her small hands nervously grabbing onto his clothes. She never thought that Su Yun would be so bold, and even more so, she never thought that he would say such words at such a time. She was not prepared at all. Shangguan Meiyang's heart was beating extremely fast. Her brain was unable to think. In fact, she was in the middle. The others could more or less see. Su Yun's actions were more to anger the young man. Bastard. The man was like an erupting volcano, breaking free from Ao Wushuang's restraints and pouncing toward Su Yun, as if he wanted to fight him to the death. Seeing the man so angry, Su Yun's mood naturally became a lot better. He chuckled and was not afraid of the man. He was about to take action, planning to teach the man a lesson. He did not know who this man was, but since he was unhappy, there was no need for him to endure it. Ao Wushuang was an old fox after all. He saw the ruthlessness in Su Yun's eyes and knew that Su Yun was planning to make a move. He immediately flashed and once again blocked in front of the two of them. "Stop! Please stop!" He anxiously called out in a low voice, his tone somewhat helpless. The two of them froze for a moment. "Uncle Ao, don't blame me for not giving you face. It's just that this guy's going too far." The man gritted his teeth and said, "Going too far?" Su Yun did not remember that he was the one who started this. "Nephew, don't be angry first," Ao Wushuang said in a deep voice, then turned his head to Su Yun and said in a low voice, "Su Yun, for my sake, can you stop? Don't provoke him anymore. Let's just forget about this matter. How about it?" Although Su Yun and Ao Wushuang did not interact much, Ao Wushuang had put in a lot of effort for Su Qing'er all these years. Furthermore, he was the father of Su Qing'er's master. Su Yun nodded. All right. Since that's the case, then let's do it." Su Yun let go of Shangguan Meiyang's hand, smiled, lowered his head, and said gently, "I'm sorry, Miss Shangguan. You must have been scared just now, right?" Shangguan Meiyang was startled, but she did not dare look at Su Yun. She seemed to be nodding, but also seemed to be shaking her head. Without saying a word, she turned and ran towards Shangguan Qingcheng. Her footsteps seemed to be a little flustered. Seeing that Su Yun had let go of Shangguan Meiyang, the man's anger subsided a lot. But when he looked at Su Yun, his face was still gloomy. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Seeing the situation, Ao Wushuang immediately said, "Brother Su, it's been a long journey. You must be tired after coming here. I'll get someone to arrange for you to rest." "No need. I still have things to do, so I won't stay here for long." Su Yun waved his hand and planned to leave. "Go. Why are you in such a hurry to leave?" The man on the other side did not let him go, and directly stopped Su Yun and said with a deep voice, "Since you are here, why don't you stay a little longer? I am Liang Haoyan, the son of Liang Xian. I have yet to ask for your name." Chapter 1139. Su Yun was actually not in a hurry to head to the Immortal Seeking sect. The news had already been sent over. The round demon in the Immortal Seeking sect would arrange for him to find the sword ancestor, and Qing'er also needed time. Su Yun originally wanted to make a trip to the ultimate martial world to see who Qianmei and Huairou Muyu, who he had not seen for a long time. Hearing Liang Haoyan's provocative words, Su Yun knew that he did not plan to let him off so easily, and immediately said, "Liang Haoyan, I've never heard of your father. Liang Xian, I've never heard of him either." Ignorant and inexperienced, my father is a third-stage profound envoy of the Immortal Court. You actually haven't heard of him? I think you're just from some third-rate immortal sect, or a wild immortal who cultivated in the nameless sea of clouds. Liang Haoyan crossed his arms across his chest and snorted with a look of disdain. Third-stage profound envoy of the Immortal Court? Hearing Liang Haoyan's words, Su Yun frowned, his heart skipping a beat. Shangguan Meiyang, who was hugging Shangguan Qingcheng, also felt her heart tighten. She secretly looked at Su Yun, then looked at Liang Haoyan, then said softly to Shangguan Qingcheng, "Mother, this Liang Haoyan's father actually has such a great background. Didn't your father tell you?" Shangguan Qingcheng smiled slightly. "He saved Liang Haoyan's life a few years ago, and in order to thank your father for saving his son's life, Liang Xian became sworn brothers with your father. That Liang Xian is actually father's sworn brother? Then why didn't that Liang Xian come to save us when the peerless sect was in trouble? Shangguan Mei Yang asked softly. Her tone was filled with complaints. Shangguan Qing Cheng sighed and said, I only heard it from your father, and that was a long time ago. At that time, we had not even come to the immortal world, and although the peerless sect has some strength, it cannot be compared to the immortal court, and that Liang Xian, regardless of status or personal strength, far surpasses your father. Although he became sworn brothers with your father, it was only to repay your father's kindness. And if others wanted to touch your father, they would still have to give him face. But the matter at that time was too complicated, and as a member of the immortal court, he could not act recklessly, so he could not be blamed. I see. Shangguan Meiyang sighed, then turned to look at Liang Haoyan and asked, Does this Liang Haoyan come to Peerless Sect often? Why is he always coming here these days? He has never come to Peerless Sect before. Shangguan Qingchang smiled and said, Isn't it because he saw you when he passed by here to rest? Me? Silly girl, can't you see? This Liang Haoyan fell in love with you at first sight. Shangguan Qingcheng chuckled. With that said, Shangguan Meiyang frowned, but did not say anything. Your father can see it too. In fact, he is quite satisfied with Liang Haoyan. Moreover, with Liang Xian around, if you become dual cultivation partners with Liang Haoyan, it will be of great benefit to both your father and yourself. Shangguan Qingqing was also a smart girl. She could naturally sense her daughter's unwillingness, so she added, But it's all up to you. I won't force you. You have to walk your own path. Don't worry about what others think. Mother, I got it. Shangguan Meiyang said softly, then turned to look at Su Yun. Su Yun seemed to be attracted by Liang Haoyan's words. A strange light flashed across his eyes. He immediately cupped his fists and squeezed out a smile. Your Excellency is the son of the third stage profound envoy of the immortal court. I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Ah ha. You're afraid now. Seeing Su Yun's expression, Liang Haoyan's face revealed a pleased look. He glanced at Su Yun and snorted. This is Peerless Sect after all. You must know the rules. Even if you don't give Uncle Ao face, don't tell me you don't care about the immortal court's face. The immortal court is a place of law, not a place that cares about face. Don't be arrogant. Sometimes, the immortal court that you know is not what you think it is. Liang Haoyan said coldly. Hearing that, Su Yun laughed and did not refute. Liang Haoyan was right. The immortal court was not what everyone thought it was. However, he had already seen a different immortal court. With Ao Wushuang here, Liang Haoyan could only show off with his words. He knew that Su Yun's methods were not simple. If he fought head-on, he might not be Su Yun's match. Su Yun could not be bothered to continue wasting time with Liang Haoyan. He cupped his fists and said indifferently, Sect leader Ao, I have caused you a lot of trouble. Please forgive me. What are you saying? Su Yun is doing this for the sake of my daughter. Ao Wushuang quickly said. Since Su Yun had already returned, it meant that he had already obtained the energy of the immortal pool. Not only him, Su Qing, and Shangguan Meiyang had also obtained it. If that was the case, how would Ao Wushuang dare to offend Su Yun? To be able to snatch the immortal pool's water from the hands of the immortal court, what kind of energy did he need? Furthermore, Su Yun was already unfathomable previously. Now that he had obtained the immortal pool's water, his strength was probably even more terrifying. Su Yun, I believe you are tired. I will immediately arrange a place for you to rest. Thank you. Su Yun cupped his fists. He did not stand on ceremony. He really needed a quiet place to recuperate. All right, this way, please. Ao Wushuang immediately led Su Yun out. He really did not want Su Yun and Liang Haoyan to stay together anymore. Liang Haoyan did not say anything. He only stared coldly at Su Yun, a strange light flashing in his eyes. Although Su Yun was looking ahead, everything behind him could not escape his notice, even the subtle change in Liang Haoyan's expression. Su Yun, you still want to stay here? Aren't you going to find the sword ancestor and ask about the sword sheath? Ling Qingyu, who was inside the sword sheath, asked at this time. Don't worry, it won't take long. I don't know where the sword ancestor is right now. And even if I don't stay here, I don't know where to find him. Rather than that, it's better to wait for the news from the round demon. Furthermore, Liang Haoyan is quite interesting. Do you want to use this Liang Haoyan the same way you use Gong Sun Lang? How can it be that simple? Chun Xinsheng, who is in charge of Gong Sun Lang, is only a rank 4 envoy, but Liang Xian is different as a rank 3 envoy. Ordinary methods are useless. If I accidentally expose myself, then the gains will not make up for the losses. Furthermore, Xiao Chua is enough for the immortal court. There is no need to complicate matters. Then what do you want? I don't want anything. You don't want anything? Qing Yu, am I that bad in your heart? You think of how to do bad things when you see someone? Isn't that so? Ling Qing Yu snorted, and was too lazy to say anything else. Su Yin was arranged by Ao Wushuang to stay in another more luxurious training ground. Not only was this training ground well equipped, there were also 5 disciples specially assigned to serve Su Yin. Although Ao Wushuang was extremely courageous, it did not mean that he was a brainless person. He still knew when to do what and when to do what. Otherwise, the peerless sect would not have been able to make such a powerful ally. After Su Yin was arranged to enter the training grounds, he immediately sat down cross-legged. The energy of the celestial pool was not so easy to completely digest and still needed to be integrated. In this world, there was no such thing as eating fat in one go. The mystical nature of the celestial pool was already considered a miracle, but this miracle had its limits. He stood up, closed his eyes, and used the qi in the immortal meridian to circulate through his entire body, inspecting his internal organs, blood vessels, and bones. A moment later, an expression of surprise and astonishment surfaced on his face. I never thought that this celestial pool water would actually give me such a huge change. With my current strength, I'm afraid even I can't recognize myself. He raised his hands and looked at his palms. He didn't know why, but even though they were clearly his own palms, and he had seen them countless times, he had a magical impulse to punch out a universe. It was as if this universe was contained in the palms of his hands. You obtaining the power of the celestial pool is a blessing. Now that you have obtained this gift, you must be grateful. The opportunities that anyone encounters are actually the accumulation of their own luck and fate, and this accumulation is caused by some of your actions in the past. Just then, Ling Qingyu's voice sounded out in Su Yun's mind. Su Yun smiled and said indifferently, Qingyu, are you going to say, this is the so-called good will be rewarded, evil will be repaid with evil? Although there's a little of that, but not completely. You have done a lot of evil things in the past, but I have no other choice. Su Yin sighed. I know. In fact, your so-called evil is also built on using evil to control evil. Although you have the ability, I have never seen you use powerful methods to bully anyone. Qingyu, you understand me. Don't be complacent. I'm not praising you, but you should put some effort into your cultivation. Your cultivation has suddenly increased by so much. You should be feeling uncomfortable now. The current you should be the same as Su Qing. You both have a feeling of powerlessness that your state of mind can't keep up. You also have to cultivate your mind. If not, it would be good if you can unleash 30% of the power in your body. Ling Qing, you said snappily. Hearing that, Su Yun laughed bitterly. Yes, 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 Miss Qingyu, this lowly one will cultivate his mind. But how? Can Miss Qingyu teach me? Talking big. Humph. I don't care about you. Ling Qingyu seemed to be a little angry. She snorted and then went silent. Su Yin did not say anything more, but Ling Qingyu's words were right. The current him did feel powerless, not powerless, but powerless to unleash his strength. His heart, indeed, needed to be cultivated. As for how to cultivate, Su Yin thought for a moment, and a person appeared in his mind. That was his master Subhoodie. Chapter 1140. In the back garden of the Peerless Sect, Shangwan Meiyong walked out of her room and wandered aimlessly in the garden. She stared at the garden full of immortal flowers and herbs, and gradually became entranced. Miss! Just then, a servant girl walked over and called out to Shangwan Meiyong, but Shangwan Meiyong did not respond. She could not help but raise her voice and shout again. Miss! Shangguan Mei Yang's delicate body trembled. She regained her senses, looked at the person beside her, and said, "It's Xiaoyu. What's wrong?" The servant girl called Xiaoyu looked at Shangguan Mei Yang strangely, then bowed and said, "Miss, you asked this servant to go to young Master Su's room." This servant went, but young Master Su seems to be still in closed-door cultivation and has not come out. Is that so? A trace of disappointment flashed across Shangguan Mei Yang's eyes. "Miss, do you want someone to go in and inform young Master Su that Miss has something to discuss with him?" Xiaoyu asked carefully. "How can I disturb someone else's cultivation? Furthermore, I have nothing to look for him for." Shangguan Mei Yang shook her head. "Then, Miss, let this servant go find young Master Su." Nothing. Shangguan Mei Yang seemed to be too lazy to explain and directly said, "Xiaoyu, there's nothing else here. You can leave first." Xiaoyu naturally did not dare to say anything more and immediately bowed. "Yes, this servant will take her leave." With that, she left. But just as she retreated to the intersection, a person walked over. Seeing that, Xiaoyu immediately bowed and respectfully called out, "Young Master Liang." The person who came was Liang Haoyan, but he did not look at the servant girl. His gaze was locked onto Shangguan Mei Yang, who was standing in front of a dark orchid. Looking at the graceful figure, Liang Haoyan's eyes flashed with greed. This was the immortal world, but not all of the people here were qualified to be immortals. Those who had climbed up from being mortals to immortal step by step, whether it was in terms of strength or temperament, they were all very solid and powerful. These immortals were true immortals. However, in the immortal world, there were also many false immortals, such as people who used magic treasures, materials, or even immortal coins to forcefully raise their cultivation, pulling them into the spirit-profound immortal realm. This kind of person's temperament was unable to keep up. He only had strength, but no temperament. This was a false immortal. Strictly speaking, Su Yun had some signs of being a false immortal. As for this Liang Haoyan, he was a true false immortal, and had been raised to the spirit-profound immortal realm by his father, Liang Xian, using materials and a large amount of celestial coins. The current him, even if his temperament was not strong, it was difficult for him to control women. And when he saw Shangguan Mei Yang, he had a strange feeling that his soul had been hooked away. It was like love at first sight, but it was also not like it. He could not describe the feeling. He only knew that ever since he saw Shangguan Mei Yang, his heart had always been imprinted with this beautiful young lady, and he secretly swore that he would definitely obtain this young lady. Probably hearing Xiao Yu's voice, Shangguan Mei Yang turned her head slightly and glanced at him. Just this glance caused Liang Haoyan to be stunned on the spot, as though he had been petrified. Seeing Liang Haoyan's expression, Shangguan Mei Yang frowned, but she did not reveal her displeasure. Instead, she bowed to Liang Haoyan from afar and said, "Greetings, young Master Liang." After all, he was the son of the third stage profound envoy of the immortal court. Even Ao Wushuang had to give him face. When a heavenly voice entered Liang Haoyan's ears, he could not help but tremble, and he suddenly woke up. Seeing that Shangguan Mei Yang was talking to him, he immediately smiled and walked over. "Mei Yang, are you admiring the flowers here?" "I'm just strolling around," Shangguan Mei Yang said indifferently. "What's the matter, young Master Liang?" "Sigh, Mei Yang, my father and your father are brothers, so you and I are siblings. Why are you still calling me young Master Liang?" "Young Master Liang. From now on, I'll call you Sister Yang. You can call me Brother Tian, how about it? After all, we're family," Liang Haoyan said with a dissatisfied tone. Shangguan Mei Yang frowned. She did not know how to reply, so she chose to remain silent. In the end, Liang Haoyan did not dare to push too hard, so he did not delve deeper into the topic. Instead, he continued to smile and said, "Sister Yang, where have you been all this time? Your brother Tian, I, have been waiting for you here. Uncle Ao said that you went out with your friends to gain experience. Is it that guy called Su Yin?" "Yes." Shangguan Mei Yang nodded. "Huh, where did you go to train? How did your cultivation rise so quickly? I can't even see through your cultivation right now." Liang Haoyan laughed. "I just had some fortuitous encounters. My cultivation didn't increase by much. Is that so? But Sister Yang, that Su Yun, what is his background? I asked Uncle Ao, but he didn't say much. He didn't know much about that Su Yun, and said he was your friend. Just then, Liang Haoyin came over and asked softly, Su Yun? Shangguan Meiyang looked at Liang Haoyin strangely, then said indifferently, he's just someone from a small immortal sect. I met him when I was living in the Sky Martial continent in the past. He could be considered an old friend. Someone from the Sky Martial continent? Hearing that, the corner of Liang Haoyin's mouth raised into a disdainful smile. So he's someone from an inferior realm. Inferior realm? Shangguan Meiyang was immediately displeased. Seeing that, Liang Haoyin knew that he had said the wrong thing, and immediately waved his hand to explain. Sister Yang, I didn't mean that. I wasn't talking about you, that young Master Liang. If there's nothing else, then forgive me for taking my leave. I'm a little tired, so I'll go rest first. Goodbye. Shangguan Meiyang snorted lightly and left. Liang Haoyin immediately chased after him, but Shangguan Meiyang ignored him and went straight into the house. Su Yun stayed in the Peerless sect for 2 days. In these 2 days, he had been meditating in the training grounds, and only after 2 days did he walk out of the training grounds. Of course, it was not because he had gained some enlightenment and had finished recuperating, but because of the news from the Round Demon. Back then, when he parted ways with the Sword Ancestor, the Sword Ancestor had told Su Yun how to find him. Su Yun had told the Round Demon about this method, and it was much easier for the Round Demon to find him. The result was not out of Su Yun's expectations. The current Sword Ancestor was still in the ultimate martial world, and from the looks of it, he had probably not finished collecting his soul. Su Yun had the Round Demon continue to lock onto the Sword Ancestor's location, and at the same time, he packed up and prepared to leave the immortal realm and head to the ultimate martial world. Young Master Su, you've come out of seclusion? Not long after Su Yun walked out of the training grounds, the 5 disciples of the Peerless sect immediately came over to welcome him. Young Master Su, do you need anything else? No need, you guys can leave. Su Yun laughed, sent the 5 of them away, and then started to stroll around. He planned to look for Shangguan Meiyang first, say goodbye to her, and then directly bid farewell to Ao Wushuang. Unexpectedly, not long after he walked out, a few young men walked over from the small path in front of him. The person in the lead was the young master of the Immortal Court's mysterious envoy, Liang Haoyin. Today, Liang Haoyin was dressed very beautifully. He was dressed in white and held a fan in his hand. He was elegant and handsome, and indeed had the demeanor of a young master of an immortal family. However, his eyes were not as gentle as an ordinary young master's. The way Liang Haoyin looked at Su Yun was not only thorny, it was as if it was filled with poison. He bumped into this guy the moment he came out. Was he unlucky, or had this guy always sent people to guard his door? Su Yun thought to himself, Yo, isn't this young Master Su? Young Master, Su has come out of seclusion? I wonder if your cultivation has broken through? Has your realm increased? You should be very powerful now, right? Liang Haoyin snorted and walked over. He made a weird sound. He had long found Su Yun to be an eyesore. Adding on the matter of Shangguan Meiyang, he was extremely pained by this man, if not for the fact that he could not flare up in the Peerless sect. If they were outside, he would have already taken action. Although he could not see through Su Yun's cultivation, he believed that this guy was only stronger than him by 1 or 2 stages and was useless. Even if he could defeat him, he could not defeat the experts around him, and even more so, he could not defeat the Immortal Court behind him. Sai, what bad luck. I met a dog the moment I went out. Su Yun pretended not to see Liang Haoyin, sighed and said, What did you say? Liang Haoyin was so angry that he stomped his feet. The immortals behind him shouted angrily, How dare you insult my young master? See if I don't teach you a lesson. With that, he was about to rush forward. What are you doing? Su Yun immediately shouted, You want to admit that you're dogs? Those people froze. Liang Haoyin looked at Su Yun strangely and said, What do you mean? Please don't think too much, okay? When I said I met a dog, I really met a dog. Su Yun pointed behind Liang Haoyin and the rest, only to realize that not far away, there was a lion dog with green fur lying on the grass, It was lazily sleeping on the grass. It should be raised by a disciple of the peerless sect. Although it was a lion dog, it was still a dog. Seeing the dog, Liang Haoyan's face turned ugly. TSK, do you all think that I'm talking about you? Su Yun chuckled. Everyone has such a thought in their hearts, right? However, how can a normal person mistake himself for a dog? This is an illness. It is better for everyone to treat it. You bastard. Liang Haoyan's face flushed red. He was so angry that he almost flew into a rage. He clenched his teeth, pointed at Su Yun, and bellowed. Su Yun, don't be complacent. Don't think that with Uncle Ao protecting you, you could be lawless. Let me tell you, this is the immortal world. My place, if I want you to live, you can live. I want you to die. The immortal I in your body will never produce immortal chi tomorrow. Oh, are you threatening me? Su Yun retracted his smile and said indifferently. Yes, so what? Liang Haoyan said. He stared at Su Yun without any trace of politeness. But at that moment, he realized that Su Yun's expression had suddenly changed, and his eyes had become rather terrifying. What was going on? This guy. Chapter 1141. Faced with Liang Haoyan's threatening words, Su Yun's heart instantly turned cold. He did not like being threatened by others. No matter who it was, as long as they threatened him, he would completely lose all pity for that person, leaving only killing intent and enmity. Su Yun did not say a word and turned to leave. Liang Haoyan stared at him coldly and did not stop him. However, Liang Haoyan seemed to have lost interest in tangling with Su Yun. He waved his hand, and the people behind him immediately walked over. Is Swift Blade immortal here? Liang Haoyan asked. Young Master sent the message. How can he not come? Coincidentally, he was sent by Master to handle some matters nearby. I think he should have already entered Peerless Sect's territory. The people at the side immediately replied respectfully. Immediately send someone to tell Swift Blade Immortal. Tell him not to enter Peerless Sect to pay his respects to me. Tell him to wait outside. When Su Yun leaves, I will cripple that bastard. Liang Haoyan said gloomily. The people at the side immediately bowed, and very quickly one of them left. Su Yun, who had already walked far away, naturally did not know of Liang Haoyan's plans, and was currently walking towards Shangwan Mei Yang's cultivation pavilion. Along the way, the disciples who saw him would greet him seriously, although many did not know him very well. But seeing how sect leader Ao Wushuang treated him with respect, they knew that he was not an ordinary person. The servant Xiao Yu, who was guarding outside the pavilion, immediately saw Su Yun. She was startled for a moment, then anxiously turned and ran into the house. Su Yun saw it from afar and was puzzled. Not long later, the servant Xiao Yu ran out again and anxiously walked in front of Su Yun and bowed. Greetings, young Master Su. Where's your family's young miss? Su Yun asked. Young miss is in the house. She knows that young master has come. She said that if you came, you could just go in. Oh, okay. Su Yun nodded and did not argue and walked straight into the house. Shangwan Mei Yang's pavilion was meticulously built for her by a female elder of the Peerless Sect. The pavilion was exceptionally exquisite. It used jade as the foundation, forged gold as the bones. The roof tiles were made of black diamonds, and the windows were all engraved with arrays. Looking from afar, it was extremely beautiful, causing people to be amazed. The door was pushed open, releasing a clear sound. Following that, a burst of fragrance assaulted his nose. Su Yun took a few sniffs and looked inside, only to see that the decorations inside were extremely exquisite. Bookshelves, tables, chairs, and medicine furnaces were all there. The ground here was not laid with arrays, but the house was not small, and there were a few tightly shut rooms. Presumably the array seal used for cultivation were in those rooms. Shangwan Mei Yang was originally sitting on a chair, reading an immortal book. Seeing Su Yun coming over, she closed the book and stood up. Su Yun, have you come out? She revealed a smile and asked. Today, Shangwan Mei Yang was dressed very beautifully. She was dressed in light red clothes, and there was a light white phoenix pattern on her clothes. A purple belt was wrapped around her waist, and a dark green jade pendant swayed along with her movements. Her pink hair was tied into a beautiful phoenix feather bun. It made her seemingly young and beautiful face look a little more mature. Su Yun was startled for a moment, then laughed. Yes, Miss Shangwan. Looking at your complexion, you should have absorbed most of the power of the immortal pool. If that's the case, I can rest assured. Did you come here just to check on my condition? Shangwan Meiyang asked in a gentle voice. Yes, you are Qing Er's master, so I will naturally put in more effort. Su Yun did not think too much and directly said what was in his heart. Shangwan Meiyang was startled. Her face flushed red. No one knew what she was thinking. All right, Miss Shangwan, since the matter is over, Su Yun should take his leave. There's still many things that I need to settle, so I will not stay in Peerless Sect for long. Today, I am here to bid farewell to you. Su Yun went straight to the point. You're leaving? The happiness in Shangwan Meiyang's heart did not last long and was replaced by disappointment. Yes, Miss Shangwan, please take care, Su Yun said, then turned around. Seeing that, Shangwan Meiyang immediately threw away the book in her hands, wanting to chase after him. Her cherry lips opened, but no sound came out. In the end, she watched Su Yun leave. After a long time, she sighed deeply and closed her eyes. After bidding farewell to Shangwan Meiyang, Su Yun went to the main hall, where Ao Wushuang and Shangwan Qingcheng were already waiting for him. Probably guessing that Su Yun was preparing to leave, Ao Wushuang specially ordered people to prepare many gifts, piling them up in the main hall. When Su Yun entered, the two of them stood up and bowed to Su Yun, greeting him. Sect leader Ao, Palace Master Shangwan. Su Yun cupped his fists and returned the greeting. Yes. Ao Wushuang nodded, looked at Su Yun, and asked, Su Yun, are you planning to leave? Let's not talk anymore. Since that's the case, I won't hold you back. Although Peerless Sect has a few acres of land, it's still too small. It can't accommodate Su Yun. Ao Wushuang said somewhat self-deprecatingly. Sect leader Ao, you're too polite. Su Yun smiled. Su Yun, although we haven't known each other for a long time, we have a lot of connections. This time, my daughter was able to obtain such a great fortune, all thanks to you. This is actually not only my daughter's fortune, it is also my Ao Wushuang's and the Peerless Sect's fortune. Here, I, Wushuang, would like to express my respect to you, Su Yun. Ao Wushuang bowed to Su Yun very seriously. Su Yun was a little dazed. He watched as Ao Wushuang stood up, clapped his hands, and the prepared gifts were presented one by one. Su Yun is an almighty being. You've seen many things. The rare treasures you've seen are not something that Peerless Sects can compare to, but I really can't take out anything that's too miraculous. These are already the best treasures and materials that Peerless Sect can give you. It's just a small gift that I've prepared for you. Su Yun, please don't treat me as an outsider. Ao Wushuang said. Sect leader Ao, you're too polite. I'm not treating you as an outsider. It's my intention. Wushuang knows that an almighty being like Su Yun will not be able to help much in the future, so I can give you some compensation now. Ao Wushuang said. He could not imagine what kind of person could obtain the celestial pool water. In fact, when he heard that Su Yun had brought Shangwan Meiyang back, he was a little confused and anxious, because at that time he thought of the possibility of them failing and getting injured. He never thought that they would succeed in obtaining the celestial pool water. After all, that place was most likely controlled by the Immortal Court, and there were also experts from other sects. To obtain the right to use the celestial pool from these people was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Even Peerless Sect could do it. He even felt regret in his heart many times, regretting allowing Shangwan Meiyang to follow Su Yun. But the truth was beyond his imagination. Not only did Su Yun return safe and sound, he even obtained the power of the celestial pool. Things were not as simple as they seemed. Ao Wushuang was shocked to find out that after Su Yun and Shangwan Meiyang returned, no one came to Peerless Sect to cause trouble, not even the people from the Immortal Court. What did this mean? This could only mean one thing. No one knew that Su Yun had obtained the celestial pool water, or rather, the people who knew no longer existed. No matter which possibility it was hard for him to believe. He even suspected that Su Yun had really obtained the celestial pool water, But looking at the change in Su Yun and Shangwan Meiyang, he could not find any other better explanation. Towards Ao Wushuang's actions, Su Yun did not feel too disgusted and did not resist. After thinking for a while, he did not feel that it was inappropriate and accepted it generously. Since that's the case, then I will thank sect leader Ao first. He did not want to be pretentious. Furthermore, some of these things were still useful to him. I might not need them all, so there's no need to thank me. All right, sect leader Ao, I won't say any more polite words. Even if I leave this time, it's not that I won't come back to Peerless Sect in the future. Chapter 1142. It was the first time Su Yun had seen such a fast blade. Fortunately, he had already obtained the transformation of the immortal pool, and his cultivation had increased greatly, allowing him to clearly see the trajectory of the blade. If he still had his previous strength, he would have suffered a loss. Su Yun stared at the incoming blade. His eyes and hands were quick. He quickly raised his right hand, and with a speed that was difficult for others to match, when his palm approached the blade, he immediately extended 2 fingers and fiercely flicked at the blade. Wong, the blade was instantly deflected. The immortal chi on the blade had no effect on Su Yun's fingers, and the moment it got close, it disappeared without a trace. The lightning-fast blade directly brushed past Su Yun's body. A gust of wind swept up, and the clouds in the surroundings were blown away. Su Yun turned around and looked at the direction the blade flew in. The blade did not hit Su Yun, and flew forward for 1,000 meters before slowing down. Only then did Su Yun see clearly that there was a person behind the blade, and this person was extremely big and was actually tall and sturdy. His attack did not hit, but he was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he turned his head and stared at Su Yun with a serious expression. He looked at the blade in his hand, then looked at Su Yun, and, after a long while, he finally said something. "You're very strong. Since you know I'm strong, you still dare to cause trouble for me?" Su Yun smiled, seeing Liang Haoyan and the rest rushing over. He immediately understood that this person was Liang Haoyan's man. "Su Yun, let's see who else can help you this time." Liang Haoyan looked at Su Yun coldly. The corner of his mouth raised into a pleased smile. "Help? I didn't plan to let anyone help me at all. Furthermore, I don't need anyone to help me. Liang Haoyan, if it's just you, I can still handle it." Su Yun said. "What big words you have there." Liang Haoyan sneered again and again, then said, "I'll let you be like this. You'll know my methods later." With that, Liang Haoyan raised his hand, pointed at Su Yun, and said to the big-sized man with the blade, "Quick blade immortal, go. Chop off both of his hands for me." The quick blade immortal hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he still made his move. The saber in his hand suddenly moved, like rain falling on a leaf. Then, he and his saber disappeared in an instant. So fast, Liang Haoyan was extremely pleased with himself. With such speed, he was simply unable to see where the swift saber immortal was. Perhaps even Ao Wushuang would not be a match for such a powerful immortal. Yet, such a powerful existence was actually listening to him. How could he not be pleased with himself? However, in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Su Yun suddenly disappeared. Seeing that, Liang Haoyan was startled. He anxiously looked left and right. Even the people behind him anxiously looked around, but they still could not find Su Yun. Not only the silhouette, but even the aura, smell, could not be detected. There was no movement at all, and it was so strange that it was suffocating. Is it gone? Did he use some immortal art? What kind of immortal technique could cause this? Perhaps it's as fast as the swift saber immortal. Absolutely not. Don't worry, young master. That bastard is definitely afraid of swift saber immortal and has used some sort of technique to hide himself. He'll definitely reveal himself soon, someone said. When Liang Haoyan heard that, he felt that it made sense. He nodded, crossed his arms, and watched quietly. However, not long after crash, a burst of chi suddenly erupted in the sky. All the immortals immediately activated their immortal chi to block the chi that was mixed with dense destructive power, and when the chi gradually weakened, they saw that the swift saber immortal and Su Yun, who had disappeared earlier, had reappeared, but the two of them had already separated. Su Yun quietly stood in the sky. His face under the pitch-black cloak was extremely calm. His entire body was not injured at all, and his hands were also empty. But the swift saber immortal was different. He was gasping for breath as he flew backwards. The hand that was holding onto the blade was trembling nonstop. The veins on the hand were popping out, but the hand seemed to be extremely weak, as though it could let go of the blade at any time, especially the chi around his body. It was extremely chaotic. Seeing the swift saber immortal in such a state, everyone was startled. Swift saber immortal, what's going on with you? Why haven't you chopped off that guy's hands? Did you not hear my orders clearly? Liang Haotian felt that he had lost a lot of face. He did not know what had happened, and immediately shouted, "Are you not in a good state today? Quickly get rid of that bastard for me." "Young master." The swift saber immortal seemed to be enduring. He clenched his teeth and said, "Young master, please forgive this subordinate for being useless. This subordinate is not this person's match." "What?" Liang Haotian turned pale with fright. He did not dare believe what he had just heard. He was startled. He looked at the swift saber immortal in shock, only to see that the swift saber immortal looked as though he could not hold on anymore. How could he still have the spirit he had before? How could this be? How many rounds did he fight with this guy? The swift saber immortal could not hold on anymore? You said that you are not this guy's match? How is that possible? Are you purposely throwing the match? Liang Haotian could not think of a reason, because he did not believe in the guy's strength. Throwing the match. Without waiting for the swift saber immortal to speak, Su Yun laughed. He raised his head and stared at Liang Haotian and said indifferently, "There shouldn't be a need. I don't know this guy. Why should I throw the match?" With that, his arms suddenly trembled. His right hand took out a gigantic sword sheath out of nowhere and hung it on his back. Following that, his palm touched the sword sheath, and a snow-white sharp sword appeared in his palm. Liang Haotian's mind tensed up. His heart suddenly started to beat frantically. For some reason, when the guy took out the sword, he felt as though his life was in the hands of the other party. The guy holding the sword and not holding the sword were two completely different things. I will let you see whether this so-called swift saber immortal is throwing the match or not. With that said, his body suddenly disappeared. Liang Haotian immediately screamed. He looked around in fear, his eyes filled with fear. This time he was starting to believe the swift saber immortal's words. Maybe this guy was not hiding at all, but was the same as the swift saber immortal, raising his speed to the limit, to the point that the naked eye could not keep up. Liang Haotian believed that he had the cultivation of a spirit profound immortal, although he relied on external objects to forcefully raise his cultivation. Strictly speaking, he was only a false immortal, but his naked eye was not something a mortal could compare to. However, he was still unable to catch Su Yun's figure, and could not even find a trace of his chi. Suddenly, a sound of something tearing through the air came out. Liang Haotian's entire body twitched. He immediately looked towards the source of the sound. The sound came from behind him. He suddenly turned around, but the moment he turned, everything in front of him immediately shocked him. Behind him, his subordinates were all standing tall in the air. Their heads had all disappeared, and blood spurted out from their severed necks like fountains. Fresh blood shot up into the sky, and the scene was extremely bizarre. Liang Haotian's eyes widened. His face instantly became deathly pale, without any trace of blood. His body also started to tremble uncontrollably. Beads of perspiration flowed down his forehead and directly flowed down. On the other side, the swift saber immortal's eyes were also tightly focused. His heart was incomparably heavy. The hand that was holding onto the blade could not help but tremble violently. What a fast speed this guy, just what cultivation does he have? His speed is actually more than twice as fast as mine, and from the looks of it, it seems like he has not used his full strength yet. The swift saber immortal secretly clenched his teeth. His heart was filled with unwillingness. For the sake of cultivation speed, he had suffered countless hardships, and now that he had obtained the name of the swift saber immortal, he believed that no one in the entire immortal world was his match in terms of speed. But after seeing Su Yun today, he realized that he was simply a frog at the bottom of a well. blood continued to spurt out. Liang Haotian's body was still trembling, but at this time, a snow-white sword quietly extended out from behind his head and directly pressed against his neck. Following that, a voice came out. "Is there a reply?" It was Su Yun's voice. Liang Haotian was so scared that he almost fell from the sky. With a sullen face, he immediately shouted, I believe. Don't kill me. I beg you, don't kill me." "How can that be?" Su Yun's face turned cold. His killing intent instantly erupted, and his voice became extremely cold. "I hate threats the most. Didn't you threaten me before? I don't like trouble. It's better to eliminate the threat first." With that, Su Yun was about to take action. Seeing that, the Swift Saber Immortal immediately became anxious. He clenched his teeth and still rushed forward. But his speed could not keep up with Su Yun's. Even if he rushed forward, he would definitely not be able to stop Su Yun. "Stop!" Just then, an urgent shout came from afar. Su Yun frowned. He raised his head and looked over, only to see a large group of immortals flying over from afar, with Ao Wushuang in the lead. When Liang Haotian saw the people, it was as if he had seen his life-saving straw and anxiously shouted, "Uncle Ao! Uncle Ao! Save me! Save my Uncle Ao!" "Ao Wushuang," Su Yun bellowed. "Even if you're here, it's impossible. Since Liang Haotian plans to kill me, then he is my mortal enemy. And against my mortal enemy, I will definitely not be lenient. Sect leader Ao, don't blame Su Yun for not giving you face today. It is Liang Haotian who did not give you face first." With that said, Su Yun immediately pushed his speed to the limit. The moment the Swift Saber Immortal got close, he was kicked flying by Su Yun. Following that, the Snow-White Lotus Star sword swung out, the sword tip directly chopping towards Liang Haotian's head. "Su Yun, quickly stop! Quickly stop!" Ao Wushuang shouted anxiously, but it had no effect. Uft! An ear-piercing sound rang out. Chapter 1143. A head was thrown into the air, blood spurting out like a fountain. Ao Wushuang, who was flying over from afar, was stunned. After a long while, he sighed. "Sect Master Ao, don't say that I didn't give you face. Today, I'll only destroy his physical body and cripple his cultivation. I won't harm his soul. If he still doesn't forget about this matter in the future and takes it to heart, then next time, I won't destroy his physical body." Su Yun said in a low voice. With a turn of his body, he leaped up and disappeared into the distance. Ao Wushuang wanted to say something, but seeing that Su Yun had left, he let it go. The people of Peerless Sect stared at the corpse that fell from the sky, as if they could not react. "Sect leader, how are we going to explain this to the Immortal Court?" A Peerless Sect disciple said with a trembling voice. That was a rank 3 mystical envoy, someone that the Peerless Sect could not afford to offend. "Explain? How are we going to explain?" Ao Wushuang sighed and said faintly, "Let's keep the corpse and the soul first. Let's resurrect Liang Haotian first. After he's resurrected, I'll personally make a trip to the Immortal Court and ask for forgiveness from his father. Our Peerless Sect is not worthy of such an existence. The sooner we get rid of this relationship, the better he will be." All the disciples looked at each other, and in the end, no one said anything. "Let's go back." "Yes." Sect leader. After leaving the Peerless Sect, Su Yun immediately headed towards the gate of the Immortal Realm. Although he had killed Liang Haotian, he had only destroyed his physical body and not his soul. This was not considered extreme. If the Third Order envoy had some understanding, he would definitely not pursue the matter. After all, Su Yun's display of power was too shocking. If he was really from the Immortal Court, how would he dare to be so meddlesome? Originally, Su Yun had planned to kill him to prevent future troubles. But after considering Ao Wushuang's situation, he was still soft-hearted. Ao Wushuang had sacrificed too much for Qing Air in the past. Su Yun still felt that he owed him. His speed was extremely fast. It took him less than 2 days to reach the gate of the Immortal Realm. Very quickly, whoosh, the strong wind rippled beside his ears, and he saw a vast and boundless land of clouds in the distance. This land of clouds was extremely thick and huge, as if there was no end to it. A person flying on it was like a grain of rice in the sea. After advancing for about half a day, huge and dazzling gates slowly appeared on the horizon. These gates were shining brightly and radiated light in all directions. The nearby white clouds were dyed gold by them. Seeing that, Su-Yun immediately stopped, landed on the cloud, and looked over. At the entrance to the celestial realm, there were a large number of celestials flying around. Some of the doors were open, and many people dressed in different attire would come out. However, when these people came out of the celestial realm gate, they didn't dare to fly around randomly. Instead, they all lined up and stood to the side, waiting to be inspected. That was because there were even more people from the immortal court standing guard beside the gate of the realm of immortals. Almost every gate of the immortal realm was guarded by over 100 armored and powerful immortal court people. Anyone who entered or exited the gate of the immortal realm had to go through identity verification, and only those who passed the test could successfully enter or exit the gate of the immortal realm. After the previous upheaval, the immortal court placed great importance on the gate of the immortal realm and had also sent out a large number of troops to guard this place. Not only that, the immortal court had also recruited a portion of volunteer soldiers from nearly 100 immortal sects. These volunteer soldiers came from these 100 or so immortal sects and were all elites. However, they had to listen to the orders of the immortal court and guard this place. With such a strong defense, even if the chaos in the immortal world were to repeat itself, the gate of the immortal realm would not be in a situation where it would be difficult to defend. Su-Yun paused for a moment and immediately contacted the round demon. Not long after, a middle-aged man dressed in a plain blue robe flew over. The man looked around, as if he was looking for something. When he saw Su-Yun, he quietly sized him up, and, after confirming it again and again, he went forward. "Are you from the martial lion sect?" he asked very carefully and very slowly. At the same time, he was staring straight at Su-Yun. "No, I am from the immortal seeking sect," Su-Yun said straightforwardly. Hearing that, the man was stunned for a moment, then hurriedly cupped his fists. "This subordinate greets master." Su-Yun immediately helped the man up and said solemnly, "There are too many people here. Don't be like this." "Yes." The man nodded and stood up straight. Su-Yun looked around and realized that no one was paying attention to them. She then asked softly, "Are you the informant sent by the round demon?" "Yes, master. This subordinate is following Master Zijin's orders." Not long ago, Master Yuan Demon sent a message saying that Master has arrived and asked this subordinate to come and receive you. The middle-aged man said respectfully, "What about the words that the round demon asked you to bring?" "Oh, reporting to Master. Master Yuan Demon has sent a message saying that the Sword Ancestor's current location should be at the peak of the martial god realm. If Master wants to go look for the Sword Ancestor, I'm afraid you won't be able to reach it through this ordinary gate of the immortal realm." "What do you mean?" Su-Yun frowned. "What is this peak of the martial god realm?" The peak of the martial god realm is a special realm that belongs to the ultimate martial world, but is different from the ultimate martial world. It is located at the southernmost tip of the ultimate martial world, and because the sea that is connected to the ultimate martial world has been distorted by a mysterious power, even immortals cannot reach the peak of the martial god realm through that sea. But they can enter from other inheritance gates, and in this gate of the immortal realm, there is only one door that can enter the peak of the martial god realm, and that is the Qian Gate on the far left. If Master wants to go to the peak of the martial god realm to find the Sword Ancestor, this subordinate suggests that Master go through the Qian Gate. The man said, "All right, let's go through the Qian Gate." This subordinate will immediately arrange for Master to leave the immortal realm. The man said, then took out a command medallion and muttered a few words, then said to Su-Yun, "Master, this way please." "Yes." Su-Yun followed the man towards the Qian Gate. On the way, Su-Yun could not help but ask, "From the looks of it, you seem to know quite a bit about the peak of the martial god realm." Reporting to Master, this subordinate was also an immortal who rose up from the ultimate martial world. "I have been to the peak of the martial god realm once." "What kind of place is it?" "Hot. 9 out of 10 deaths." "Very dangerous?" Yes, and there is a sect that even immortals cannot control. This sect is almost the overlord of the peak of the martial god realm. They control all the resources in the peak of the martial god realm. The peak of the martial god realm is rich in resources, and there are a lot of spirit mines that contain energy. It is a treasure land that many people covet. Even immortals yearn for day and night. But this sect is especially strong, adding to the fact that they have been staying at the peak of the martial god realm for many years. The harsh conditions of this place are disadvantageous to outsiders, but extremely advantageous to them. Relying on the various factors of the peak of the martial god realm, they actually repelled a group of attacks from the Jingyu Imperial Palace 2,000 years ago and successfully ruled over the peak of the martial god realm. After that, a portion of the immortals entered, but they only entered and did not leave. People guessed that they were most likely killed by that sect, and thus, this place became a forbidden area for many immortals. I never thought that there would be such a place in the ultimate martial world. Su Yin sighed. In the boundless world, there are all sorts of strange things. In short, Master, be careful. Many of the people in that sect also possess the strength of immortals. They are extremely repulsive towards outsiders. If Master were to meet people from that sect, you must be careful, the middle-aged man said, and sent Su Yun to the front of the Qian Gate. There were also over 100 people from the Immortal Court standing here. In front of the Qian Gate, there was a short line with only a dozen or so people. Compared to the other gates, which had more than 100 people, it was already considered quite good. This guy seemed to have already arranged everything. When it was Su Yun's turn to be inspected, the person only searched Su Yun's body symbolically. He did not ask for his name, nor did he inspect the magic treasure, and directly let him go. Let's go. Hurry up. The Immortal Court person in charge of the search urged. Su Yun did not waste any time, and directly jumped into the Qian Gate. Voila! A burst of light burst forth from within the huge gate, and Su Yun's entire body disappeared within the light. Seeing that, the middle-aged man immediately retreated, intending to leave. Bang! Just as he turned and was about to leave, an old man dressed in a white robe suddenly walked over. The old man lowered his head and looked at the ground, as if he did not see him. Their shoulders collided fiercely. The old man swayed and almost fell, but the middle-aged man was fine. He took 2 steps back and frowned as he glanced at the old man. Seeing that the old man was fine, he did not say anything and quickened his pace to leave. The old man raised his head. Under his white hair, there was actually a pair of silver-white eyes. He looked at the middle-aged man who left and then glanced at the door. His silver-white eyes flickered with a strange gray light. He walked towards the Qian Gate. When the Immortal Court people stationed at the Qian Gate saw him, they hurriedly cupped their fists and bowed. Master, Master, you're here. Yes. The old man nodded, but extended his hand and caressed the door frame of the Qian Gate. This world will never be peaceful. Hua! The sound of something tearing through the air rang out. Su Yun opened his eyes and discovered that he was no longer above the vast clouds of the immortal world. The current him was rapidly descending. Below him was an incomparably pitch-black land. The sky was dusky, and the air was filled with dust. He looked around and discovered that on this black land, there were more than 10 huge volcanoes. Each of the volcanoes was emitting thick smoke, as if they would erupt at any time. As he continued to descend, the surrounding temperature became higher and higher. When he landed on the ground with a boom, Su Yun was surprised to discover that the surrounding temperature had already exceeded 1,000 degrees. Although he did not feel any discomfort, this kind of place was truly amazing. He looked around and couldn't help but frown. Crap! The round demon only told me that Sword Ancestor was active at the Martial God Peak, but he didn't tell me the exact location. How big is the Martial God Peak? Where should I start looking? Chapter 1144. Father, why did you summon me in such a hurry? What's the matter? Inside the Peerless Sect, Shangwan Meiyang followed a Peerless Sect disciple in front of her and hurriedly walked forward. Her face was filled with doubt. Miss, I don't know either. Maybe the sect leader has something important to tell you. The disciple in front of her turned around and smiled bitterly. Shangwan Meiyang frowned and did not say anything else. With a face full of thoughts, she walked to the main hall. At this moment, the main hall's door was already closed. At the door stood two of A.O. Wushuang's trusted aides, guarding the door. Seeing the two of them, Shangwan Meiyang was even more astonished, because the ones who guarded this place in the past were not these two fellows. Furthermore, why was the hall that was used to receive and discuss matters closed? "Miss, please go in. The sect leader is inside, I won't go in." The disciple smiled, then cupped his fist towards the door and shouted, reporting to the sect leader, "Miss has arrived." "Got it. You can leave first." A voice came from inside. "Yes, sect leader." The disciple cupped his fists again, then hurriedly retreated. Shangwan Meiyang looked inside suspiciously, then looked at the disciple. In the end, she still carried a perturbed heart and walked towards the main hall. Creak! The door was pushed open. There were not many people sitting in the main hall. There were only two. One was A.O. Wushuang, and the other was Shangwan Qingcheng. "Father? Mother?" Shangwan Meiyang was startled. She did not understand what was going on. There was a purple light flashing around the main hall. A.O. Wushuang seemed to have activated a barrier and sealed the connection between this place and the outside world. Seeing this, Shangwan Meiyang became even more confused. "Father, mother, this? What's going on? What do you want to do?" "Yang don't be nervous. I called you here today, not for anything else, but to ask you something," A.O. Wushuang said indifferently. "Father, what do you want to ask Yang Shangwan Meiyang said. A.O. Wushuang was silent for a moment, as if he was thinking about something. Shangwan Qingcheng sat quietly on the chair, but did not say a word. After an unknown period of time, "Yang what's your current cultivation?" "My cultivation? I've already peeked into the profound spirit god realm." "About to step into the profound spirit god realm?" A.O. Wushuang gasped. "This is all thanks to the celestial pool's water. If not for the celestial pool's water, how could I have such strength?" Shangwan Meiyang laughed and said, "Yeah, the water of the celestial pond is miraculous indeed. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caused countless people from the celestial world to fight for it." A.O. Wushuang sighed and said slowly, "In the past, the appearance of the immortal pond divine miracle was bound to cause a storm of blood. Even with the intervention of the immortal court, the chaos couldn't be avoided. But this time, the immortal pond divine miracle didn't cause too much turmoil, except, at this point, A.O. Wushuang paused. Shangwan Meiyang looked at A.O. Wushuang with a solemn expression. A.O. Wushuang looked at his daughter and continued, "Only the immortal court suffered a great loss this time. It is said that the immortal court lost a large number of rank 5 envoys, a few rank 4 envoys, and a rank 3 envoy. The main forces of the immortal court were also severely weakened. These people died in the operation of the immortal pool, right beside the immortal pool. Do you know about this?" A.O. Wushuang looked at his daughter seriously, and his last question was especially serious. When Shangwan Meiyang heard this, she immediately understood why A.O. Wushuang asked her come. She thought for a while and said in a low voice, "Father, it's really hard for me to tell you about this matter. After all, it's related to the immortal court. Once it's leaked, everyone related to it will be hunted down by the immortal court or even killed. So, I can't tell you. I understand that you're doing this for Su Yun's sake. But I just want to ask, is the death of these people related to Su Yun?" A.O. Wushuang said in a low voice. Shangwan Meiyang looked down for a long time and said softly, "Yes." Such a simple word fell into A.O. Wushuang's ears, but it gave him a great shock. He widened his eyes and looked at his daughter blankly, unable to say a word. Not long ago, he received news about the immortal pool. This news had spread like wildfire and had already spread throughout the immortal world, causing a huge uproar in the immortal world. The immortal court had suffered heavy losses this time, and its status had also been shaken. People were very curious about who did this to the immortal court. After all, the immortal court had not announced the murderer, which meant that even they themselves did not know. What kind of method was this? "Father, please don't tell others." "Don't worry. Why would I tell others? After all, you're also involved in this matter. Once it's leaked, my peerless sect will not be able to escape responsibility." Ao Wu Shuang said in a low voice, but I never thought that Su Yun would actually cause such a huge ruckus. Although he did it cleanly, it's better to be safe than sorry. Yang for the time being, stay in Peerless Sect and don't go anywhere. Wait for this matter to settle down first. Yes, Father. Outside the Immortal Seeking Sect, a group of people dressed in brownish-yellow embroidered robes flew over from afar. There were a total of 12 people in this group. As soon as they landed, they flashed the tokens on their waists. The Immortal Court is here to handle matters. Quickly summon your sect leader. We have important matters to attend to. The leader did not have the slightest bit of politeness and directly shouted at the two disciples who were on duty at the gate. The two disciples were still stunned, probably unable to react. They watched as the group of people directly walked in, as if they were too lazy to wait outside. How overbearing. Hey, stop. All of you stop. The two disciples hurriedly rushed over, but they could not stop these powerful Immortal Court people at all. Seeing that the situation was not good, one of them immediately shouted, and at the same time sounded the alarm. In an instant, a large number of immortals rushed out of the Immortal Seeking Sect and directly surrounded the group of Immortal Court people. There were 3 layers of people inside and 3 layers outside, and not a single drop of water could escape. Xiang Yang rushed over immediately, and upon seeing this group of people, he immediately shouted, "Who are you people? How dare you behave atrociously in the Immortal Seeking Sect? Although the Immortal Seeking Sect is not big, we will not let anyone bully us. Men, take them down." Yes. Wait. We are from the Immortal Court, and this time we came to the Immortal Seeking Sect with important matters. Who are you? The leader took out another token and said, "Me?" Xiang Yang snorted and said, "I am the vice sect leader of the Immortal Seeking Sect, Xiang Yang." You are Xiang Yang? The few people were surprised. May I know where the sect leader is? The sect leader is out and has not returned yet. You say you are from the Immortal Court? Humph, the token looks real, but your behavior is too rude. Since when can the people of the Immortal Court ignore the rules and laws of the Immortal Court and trespass into the land of other sects? Xiang Yang said coldly, "Time is of the essence. We have been authorized by the Immortal Court to enter any sect at will. The laws of the immortal world are made by everyone, and the Immortal Court has no right to change them. This is not a change, just a temporary decision," the man said indifferently. Hearing this, Xiang Yang was so angry that his face turned red. Well, Vice Sect Leader Xiang Yang, since the sect leader is not here, it is the same to ask you. I hope you can actively cooperate with us, and don't cause us trouble. In this way, it will be good for the Immortal Court, and also for the Immortal Seeking Sect. The man seemed to ignore Xiang Yang's feelings, holding a roll of paper in his hand. He opened it, looked at the paper, and began to speak. I would like to ask Sect Leader Xiang Yang, has anyone else entered your sect recently? Although our sect has not recruited disciples during this period, the sect has not been closed. Friends from all over the world come here, and we will certainly welcome them. What do you mean? Perhaps I didn't express myself clearly enough. That person straightened up the paper and looked at the picture of a man drawn on the paper. The man wore a pitch-black cloak, and his face could not be seen clearly. He held a snow-white sword in his hand, and his entire body was filled with devil chi. Although it was drawn on a roll of paper, because it was condensed from immortal chi, it appeared lifelike, as if it was a real person. Xiang Yang's heart skipped a beat, and his breathing became tight. Although it was only a glance, he recognized that this person was Su Yun. Calm down. He had to be calm. Xiang Yang anxiously warned himself in his heart. These were all spies sent by the Immortal Court, so he couldn't expose himself in front of them. Xiang Yang pretended to be very careful as he carefully examined the scroll of paper. Then, he shook his head and said indifferently, "Who is this person? I've never seen him before. He is a heaven-rank wanted criminal of the Immortal Court and has already been placed at the top of the blacklist. Now, the Immortal Court will split a third of its power to investigate this person. As long as this person is not brought to justice, the Immortal Court's focus will never shift." Who is he? I don't know. What's his name? Which sect is he from? I don't know either. You don't know anything about him. Why did you come to my immortal-seeking sect to investigate? Xiangyang was puzzled. The man holding the scroll of paper narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, "Because our immortal court's envoy calculated that this person is most active in this area, and this area is the territory of your immortal-seeking sect." WH. What? He stared at the portrait and asked carefully, "This person, what did he do?" "This is confidential. Vice Sect Leader Xiangyang. From today onwards, the Immortal Court will place people here. From today onwards, no one from the Immortal Seeking Sect will be allowed to leave the Immortal Seeking Sect. We will have special people to investigate. The investigation will not take too long, about a day. After a day, if there is no such person in the Immortal Seeking Sect, we will clear the Immortal Seeking Sect's name. Please cooperate with us, Sect Leader Xiangyang." The man said indifferently. But as soon as he said that, Xiangyang's heart almost jumped out of his throat. Investigation? Half of the people in the Immortal Seeking Sect were devil cultivators. Chapter 1145. Scorched Earth. Scorched earth was everywhere, and the pitch-black ground was cracked open. The cracks were like abysses, like the huge mouths of ferocious beasts. It was pitch black, and other than the black smoke that floated out, there was nothing else. Su Yin stared at his surroundings. He had already walked for half a day, although he did not know how big the Martial God Peak was, but he could roughly guess that it shouldn't be too big. Suddenly, Su Yin stopped in his tracks. He looked forward and saw a pitch-black shadow standing in the distant horizon. The shadow was like a heavenly pillar connecting the heavens and the earth. Previously, he was far away and there was a mountain in the way, so he did not see it. Now that he had climbed over the mountain, it immediately appeared in his line of sight. Su Yin was curious. He immediately increased his speed and walked towards the pillar. However, just as he was about to reach the pillar, Su Yin finally saw the people inside the Martial God Peak. It turned out that around the pillar, there were a large number of buildings. These buildings were all pitch black, and they surrounded the gigantic pillar, standing one by one. Looking at the material of these buildings, they seemed to be built from the scorched earth on the ground. Around every building, there were many people wearing dark red robes walking around. Just as Su Yin was about to get closer, he saw that there was a gigantic stone door at the front of the building, and beside the stone door stood a large stone tablet. Martial God Sect. Su Yin looked at the 3 big words on the stone tablet and could not help but read them out loud. Martial God Sect? Could it be the sect that ruled the peak of the Martial God realm? Was it these people? He looked at the people below him and realized that many of them only had the cultivation of Spirit Sage and had not even reached the Spirit Profound Immortal. If it was just these people, it would be impossible for them to repel the people from the Feather Emperor Palace. Who is it? Just then, an explosive shout came out from the building, causing the people inside to be startled. They all looked out, and at the same time, a figure rushed out, flying straight towards Su Yin. Su Yin looked over, only to see a man with red skin and a bare upper body flying out. The man's face was full of flesh. The flesh on his body swelled like a mountain. His head was bare. There was a Buddhist seal on top of his head. He looked like a monk, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. He did not look like one. Su Yin did not intentionally hide his qi. With his cultivation, even if he did not intentionally hide his qi, the amount of qi that leaked out from his body was very little. However, he did not expect that someone would detect it. This was beyond his expectations. Su Yin stared at the monk whose entire body was red, sizing him up, feeling somewhat astonished. 3rd stage, Spirit Profound Immortal? Only the strength of a 3rd stage, Spirit Profound Immortal? How did you discover my existence? Su Yin could not understand. Could it be that this guy has some kind of unique magic treasure on him? Or could it be that everyone in the Martial God Sect had such a special ability? Interesting. It seemed that the people from the Martial God Sect were not simple. Your aura doesn't belong to the Martial God Sect. Who are you? What are you doing here? The monk shouted angrily at Su Yin. His voice was very loud and filled with anger, as though Su Yin had angered him. My name is Su Yin, and I am naturally not from the Martial God Sect. I came from the outside world, and came to the peak of the martial god sect to find someone. I wonder who you are? Su Yun asked indifferently. You said you're from the outside world? When the monk heard that, he was immediately enraged, and the killing intent in his eyes was almost unconcealed. He did not care if Su Yun would explain or not, and directly rushed forward, both of his hands forming fists, and punched toward Su Yun. The two fists were actually ignited with scarlet-red flames. The temperature was extremely high, and like two fireballs, they struck toward Su Yun. Su Yun frowned, his face darkening. The fist came flying over, but he did not dodge, and just stood there bang, bang. Two muffled sounds came out. The two fists that were like fireballs smashed onto Su Yun's chest in the air, and then suddenly stopped. The moment the flames on the fist touched Su Yun, they immediately spread throughout his body, but not long after, they disappeared without a trace. The monk was startled. He raised his head to look at Su Yun, only to discover that he was completely unharmed. There was not a single wound on his body. What? The monk's expression changed drastically. Could it be that his attack was completely ignored by this guy? He quickly retracted his fist and planned to retreat, but just as he was about to leave, a palm instantly extended out, directly forming a claw and grabbing his neck. The attack was extremely fast, so fast that no one had any time to react, let alone defend. The monk's neck was grabbed, and he was immediately lifted up. A mysterious power surged out from the palm and seeped into his skin, drilling into the various great immortal meridians in his body, directly sealing all the immortal chi in his body. The monk immediately struggled, but he discovered that no matter how much strength he used, he was unable to break free from the grip of the big hand. He opened his eyes wide and looked at Su Yun, only to discover that the man was already expressionless, and in his eyes, the cold, killing intent became even stronger. Stop! Quickly release the Lord Protector. Capture him. Angry roars erupted. All of the people from the martial god sect had a bad temper, and with this move, their killing intent soared. All of them raised their blades and swords, and fiercely smashed toward Su Yun. What was surprising was that as they brandished their blades and swords, they released scorching flames. The aura used by the people from the martial god sect seemed to be related to fire. Su Yun frowned, his face suddenly darkened, and his voice became ice cold. Is this the way the martial god sect welcomes guests? Good. All right. As the sound of his voice faded, his arm trembled, and a snow-white sword instantly appeared in his palm. He shook the snow-white sword, and the monk who was pinching his left hand immediately exploded. The corpse pieces and blood splattered in all directions, and the people who rushed over were no exception. Under the existence of Su Yun's spirit god strength, any spirit immortal or spirit sage could only be slaughtered. A wave of snow-white sword images flashed past, and the people from the martial god sect were all cut into pieces. A large amount of flesh and blood turned into rain and fell down. Su Yun held onto his sword, his eyes bloodshot and his expression ice-cold. His massacre had finally intimidated the furious people from the martial god sect. Their faces were pale white, unwillingly and fearfully looking at Su Yun, who was dyed red with blood in the air. They only surrounded him and did not attack. I came here just to look for someone. I hope you will cooperate with me. I don't want to kill. Su Yun said indifferently. What a good, you don't want to kill. You trespassed on the territory of my martial god sect and slaughtered my people. Now, you say such words. What's wrong? Do you think that there's no one in my martial god sect? Or could it be that you simply look down on my martial god sect? Just then, a low and deep voice floated over from afar. In the blink of an eye, a series of shadows shot out from within the martial god sect. These shadows numbered in the tens of thousands, flying out from all directions of the martial god sect, and in the end, they all gathered in front of Su Yun, transforming into a man dressed in a black robe, holding onto a long blade. The man was extremely sturdy, with a long crown on his head, his beard straight, and his entire body was filled with strength. Su Yun casually swept a glance at the man and asked indifferently, "Are you the sect leader of the martial god sect?" "I am the second clan elder of the martial god sect," "Time Miao, let your sect leader come out. You're not my match." "What big words you have there." Time Miao was not angry, but instead chuckled. "However, my martial god sect has stood at the peak of the martial god realm for so many years. What kind of people have I not seen before? Even if it's all kinds of immortals, we have seen them frequently. But this is the first time I've seen someone as arrogant and conceited as you. We haven't even fought yet. How do you know that I'm not your match?" After Time Miao finished speaking, he raised a long blade in his hand slightly. But just at this moment, an ice-cold, killing intent enveloped his body, causing Time Miao's entire body to tremble. He cursed inwardly and anxiously retreated. But before he could even move, a hand instantly pierced through his chest, grabbing his flesh and pulling him over. Time Miao spat out a mouthful of blood. His originally spirited appearance immediately became dispirited and listless. That hand was Su Yun's, and Su Yun grabbed him, and the two of them looked at each other face to face. He stared coldly, and Time Miao wanted to struggle. But he discovered that all of the immortal qi in his body had disappeared, as though it had been sucked dry by the hand that had pierced through his chest. He was instantly crippled by his opponent. Time Miao was dumbstruck. Thinking about such a terrifying thing, he seemed to have forgotten about his own pain. How could this be? How could this be? How do you think we still need to fight? Su Yun stared at Time Miao and said coldly. He could see the fear in Time Miao's eyes. He was afraid, and he was trembling with fear. "I will only give you one chance, and I will also give you people from the martial god sect a chance. Only one. You, quickly go and inform your martial god sect leader. Tell him to come and see me, or else don't blame me for taking action myself to find him." With that said, Su Yun casually waved his hand and threw Time Miao out. Time Miao fell to the ground, spitting out blood again. Almost no one from the martial god sect dared to step forward. Even Lord Time Miao was crippled in one move and was unable to retaliate at all, let alone them. Who was this guy? Which realm did he come from? Time Miao did not dare disobey Su Yun. He was thrown to the ground. He stood up with difficulty, and then slowly left. It seemed like he was planning to inform the sect leader. However, not long after Time Miao left, the sky suddenly turned red. The surrounding temperature suddenly rose. The earth shook, the ground split open, and a large amount of magma spewed out from the cracks. Seeing this scene, all the disciples of the martial god sect immediately knelt on the ground and shouted loudly. "Welcome, sect leader." Chapter 1146. "Oh, the sect leader of the martial god sect is here?" Su Yun stared at the gigantic black pillar. He could feel that there was some kind of power overflowing from the black pillar. This power was many times stronger than the disciples of the martial god sect, and it was extremely tyrannical. It was likely that the person who came was an extremely ferocious existence. I never thought that there would be someone who would dare to behave atrociously in my martial god sect. I really want to see who has the guts to do so. A burst of eerie laughter rang out. This voice sounded abnormally deep and oppressive, giving off an incomparably heavy feeling. It was as if something was pressing down on his shoulders, making him unable to breathe. Su Yun held onto the Lotus Star Sword and stared at the black pillar in the distance. With a sound, a thick ball of flame shot out from behind the black pillar. The flame was not big, but its temperature was extremely high. It was like a meteor dragging a long tail as it crazily spat out, and with every inch it got closer, the temperature in the air would increase by 1,000 degrees. When it got close to Su Yun, the surrounding temperature had already broken through 100,000 degrees. The ground was roasted red, and the buildings of the martial god sect were the same. However, the other party did not seem to plan to attack Su Yun directly, and stopped less than a kilometer away from Su Yun. The flames dispersed, and a little boy who was not more than 3 meters tall, dressed in a dark red loose robe, appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. The boy's skin was red, and there was a red lotus mark on his face. There were 2 horns on his forehead, and his eyes were like poisonous snakes. At the moment, he was hugging his chest with a strange smile on his face as he looked at Su Yun. Su Yun was startled. He looked at the child, and then looked at the back of the child's head, his head full of fog. Seeing Su Yun's actions, the child was stunned and asked, "What are you doing?" The voice that came out was thick and suppressed. Su Yun was also stunned and asked, "Where is your martial god sect leader?" "I am." The child clenched his teeth, and his eyes started to spit out flames of anger. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned. He looked at the child very seriously, from beginning to end, and then said seriously, "Are you lying? How could the dignified martial god sect look like a child like you? Impossible. You must be an imposter." "Humph. Stop talking nonsense. My body is just a vessel. Although my body is young, my soul is strong enough. But you, on the other hand, although you have the body of an adult, your mind and soul must be extremely weak. Despicable person, who exactly are you? Where did you come from? Are you really the sect leader of the martial god sect?" "You." The anger on the child's face was almost uncontrollable. Seeing that, Su Yun laughed and said, "Who I am is not important. The important thing is that I came here today to find a person. It is said that he has already reached the peak of the martial god realm. If you have any news of him, I hope that you can tell me as soon as possible." "Who are you looking for?" Of the sect." "Su Yun of the Sword. Ancestor sect. Captured by you guys?" Su Yun's face darkened. A wave of killing intent immediately pervaded his face. The child was startled, and his expression became solemn. "So what if I am? What do you want to do?" "Of course it's to save him." Su Yun snorted. His eyes suddenly lit up before the child could react. The space around him suddenly distorted. "Illusion technique?" The child cried out in alarm. He immediately spun his body. A large amount of flames shot out from his body. The flames quickly converged together, transforming into many fierce flame beasts. Some of the fierce beasts were like dragons, coiling towards Su Yun. Coiling around him, some of the fierce beasts were like whales, directly opening their mouths, intending to swallow him. The child's casual dance had turned the sky into a paradise for the fierce beasts of fire, and the flame beasts danced chaotically. But, facing the fire hell, Su Yun did not have the slightest intention of stopping. He stared at the child and rushed over, extending his palm forward. He grabbed the child, who was still spinning. "What?" Seeing that his attack was completely immune to this guy, the child revealed an extremely shocked expression. How is this possible? The spells he cultivated were mainly for attack, and even immortals would find it extremely difficult to block his attacks. But this guy actually completely ignored his attacks. Dong! At this moment, a fist smashed onto the child's head, the huge force causing his entire body to tremble. The flames immediately stopped. The aura around his body was like a small boat being tossed about by a huge wave, trembling nonstop. He also directly fell to the ground. The child felt his mind go blank. What was happening right now had already caused his thoughts to be unable to keep up. However, before he could even land on the ground, his body was grabbed by another person. The child gritted his teeth. He knew that the person who came this time was not simple. He was not his match at all. However, he would not admit defeat just like that. He had already started to roar. "Bastard, don't underestimate me." His roar exploded, and the child's body spewed out a large amount of white gas. His hair instantly turned blood red, and his eyes seemed to be burning with flames, making him look extremely terrifying. He let out a furious roar, and his aura instantly soared, with a terrifying aura that seemed like it was about to split the world apart. But at this moment, boom, a foot suddenly stomped down from above, directly trampling down the child, who was about to rise higher and higher like a god. The child was caught off guard, and his entire body fell to the ground, the flames on his body shattering like sparks hitting the ground. Bang! The ground also trembled. It was completely broken. All the attacks had been completely seen through and broken by the opponent. There was no chance at all, and even if he had managed to do so, the opponent did not care at all in the distance. The people of the martial god sect were all dumbfounded, watching this scene in a daze. Defeated. And the defeat was so abnormally miserable, he had no power to fight back at all. How could this be? Even the sect leader was defeated. Who on earth was this person? Why was he able to have such powerful strength? These people of the martial god sect did not dare to believe what they had seen at all. In their hearts, Their sect leader was an invincible existence, and no one could compete with him. Even if an immortal came to act wildly, as long as the sect leader was there was nothing to worry about. But this person who had appeared today, however, with his absolute strength, he had completely crushed this supposedly invincible sect leader. Not a single person in the entire martial god sect was able to subdue him. Perhaps it shouldn't be said that he was subduing him. It was already not bad to be able to contend against him. Although the people of the martial god sect could use the terrain to repel the immortals, right now, with just one person, they could not use the terrain advantage at all. Moreover, this guy did not seem to be an existence that could be dealt with by a large number of people. Before the child could stand up, he was lifted up by Su Yun with one hand. The imperial battle robe on his body released waves of light, crazily absorbing and devouring the immortal chi on the child's body. The child's face suddenly changed. He immediately wanted to restrain his chi and prevent it from leaking out, but it was all in vain. He could only watch helplessly as his chi was sucked dry by Su Yun. "You? Who the hell are you?" He opened his eyes in fear and looked at Su Yun, trembling. "Who I am is not important. What's important is the person I came here to find." Su Yun carried the child and said in a deep voice, "Now, immediately get someone to release that person. Otherwise, I will turn you into a meatball and refine your soul." Don't kill me," the child hurriedly said. Although his voice was still thick and sounded extremely awkward, this time, he no longer had the unyielding attitude from before and was completely admitting defeat to Su Yun. They had no choice but to admit defeat now. The strength that Su Yun had displayed was too unbelievable, such a powerful existence. They had no way of contending against him. "Then cooperate with me a little. Time is very precious. I don't want others to waste my time, otherwise I will directly waste other people's lives." Chapter 1147. War God. Su Yun frowned and asked solemnly, "Who is this person?" "The true ruler of the peak of the martial god realm. We are just living under his command." The child's voice trembled. "Lord War God was actually here even earlier than us. He has always been at the peak of the martial god realm, never coming down. We do not know what he is doing there, because we cannot see him. Once we ascend to the peak of the martial god realm, we will immediately be killed by him. So we call that place a forbidden area." "Oh, is that so?" Su Yun thought for a moment. He stared at the pitch-black pillar in the distance, then grabbed the child and flew into the sky. Where do you want me to go?" Let me go. Let me go." The child's entire body was trembling. His deep voice came out one after another, and he was also struggling. But it was useless. Su Yun's hand was like the strongest cage in the world. No matter how he struggled, he could not break free. "Where are you taking me?" The child shouted at Su Yun. "The peak of the martial god realm." He stared at the pitch-black pillar in the distance and said in a deep voice. Hearing that, the child's face turned pale. "What did you say? Go to the peak of the martial god realm? Are you crazy? We will be killed. We will all die. The power of the martial god is not something we can imagine. It is impossible for us to last a second in front of him." The child seemed to be completely intimidated by the power of the martial god. Upon hearing Su Yun's words, he shouted crazily, "I have to save the sword ancestor, but in order to prevent you from lying to me, I have to bring you here. The sword ancestor must be dead. It's useless for you to go. He must have been killed by the martial god. If Lord Sword Ancestor is really dead, then you will have to accompany him in death." Su Yun was annoyed by the child and shouted in a low voice. When the child heard this, his trembling voice became even more trembling. Su Yun flew towards the peak of the martial god realm and was actually guessing in his heart, "Martial god?" The sect leader of the martial god sect also had the strength of a spirit profound immortal. It was not a problem for him to fight against immortals, but such a guy, just hearing the name of the martial god, made him so scared. If he were to stand in front of the martial god, wouldn't he be scared to death? That martial god, what kind of existence was he? Before you came here, the martial god had always existed on the martial god summit? Su Yun asked the child as he hurried forward. That's right. The peak of the martial god realm was named after him. How do you know he's a martial god? He called himself a Valkyrie when he warned us. How strong? I can't describe it. I'm afraid you'll die in his hands. What is he doing there? I do not know. Really? Suyin did not ask any more questions. As he approached the pitch-black sky pillar, a strange magnetic field came down from above. This magnetic field seemed to be able to affect the immortal power, and when Suyin got closer, the flow of the immortal power in his body actually slowed down a lot. Suyin frowned. He looked up. The mysterious magnetic force was floating down from the peak of the martial god summit. Was this the power of the martial god? Or was there some other existence above? Suyun's heart was filled with suspicions. He also became more careful, following the magnetic field. He carefully flew up. His speed was neither fast nor slow. It was unknown how this stone pillar was formed, but on the way up, Suyun discovered that there were a large number of runes on the thick and huge stone pillar. The edges of the runes were stained with blood, and the center was glowing with a white light. Suyun stared at the runes. It looked like some kind of race's special words. What is this? Suyun carried the child and asked in a deep voice. I'm not sure, but when I first came here, these things weren't there. This should have been carved by Lord Martial God himself. The child said nervously. Suyun stared at the runes, as if he was thinking about something. Suddenly, waves of chaotic and tyrannical auras swept over from above, as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them, causing them to be unable to breathe. This aura seemed to be formed from a mixture of many different auras, and it was extremely unique. Moreover, these auras seemed to be constantly colliding, as if they were fighting against each other. Suyun immediately thought of the Sword Ancestor and the Martial God. He did not know what was going on with the Sword Ancestor, but of course he was not too worried about the Sword Ancestor situation. With the Sword Ancestor's methods, he should not be destroyed by the Martial God so easily. However, there is always a chance, so it was better to go and take a look. Suyun completely ignored the magnetic field, but the child was different. All of the immortal chi in his body was sealed by Suyun, so facing the magnetic field, he could not resist at all. Very quickly, his face flushed red, his eyes bloodshot, as if his entire body was about to explode. Suyun did not wish for this fellow to die here, so he immediately activated his immortal chi and wrapped it around his body. Only then did the child heave a sigh of relief. Suyun's speed was extremely fast, and the child could not withstand Suyun's godly speed, so much so that he was constantly breathing heavily. In less than half a day, Suyun could already see the top of the black pillar. It was a vast expanse of whiteness below, and he could no longer see the ground. Suyun did not know how high it was, nor did he know how it came about. The magnetic field was already so strong that even he could not ignore it, but the tyrannical destructive aura was gradually weakening. Suyun was a little suspicious. He focused his eyes and stared up, only to see that the sky above him was filled with a dazzling light, as though there were several sword images flying into the sky. But very quickly, everything calmed down and disappeared. Oh, I didn't expect someone to dare to come here. It seems like there are more and more reckless fellows. A somewhat cold voice came from the peak of the martial god realm. Suyun snorted. With a burst of speed, he rushed over and directly jumped onto the peak of the martial god realm. The peak of the martial god realm was the top of the black pillar. The top of the pillar was extremely flat, as if it had been cut by a knife, but in the center, there was a gigantic colored stone. The colored stone was incomparably bright, emitting a weak light, and with it, as the center, there was a gigantic blood array. Suyun looked at the colored stone. His gaze immediately turned, and very quickly, he saw two figures standing on both sides of the colored stone. One of them was Sword Ancestor. Master Ancestor! Suyun was overjoyed and immediately ran over. At the moment, Sword Ancestor was dressed in a brown Blade Master cloak, holding a light yellow sword in his hand. He looked to be in a sorry state, gasping for breath, his eyes staring straight at the person on the other side of the stone. There was an old man with white hair and a white beard. The old man was dressed in a snow-white robe, and he stood proudly with his hands behind his back. His sunken eyes were bright and full of expression, and he gave off an arrogant aura, as if he was the only one in the world. The child was thrown to the side by Su Yun. After he landed, he immediately laid on the ground, trembling, not even daring to look at the martial god, as if the martial god was a fiend. Hearing Su Yun's call, Sword Ancestor was startled. He immediately turned his head and saw the person flying over. His face was filled with astonishment. Su Yun, why are you here? Master Ancestor, I have something important to discuss with you, so I sent people to search for you. After knowing that you came to the martial god peak, I rushed over. Su Yun said, let's talk about it later. Right now, let's think a way to deal with this guy. Sword Ancestor took a deep breath and said. Su Yun nodded his head. His gaze shifted, looking at the white-haired old man, and said indifferently, this person, is he the martial god? Since you know my name, how dare you come here? The old man looked at Su Yun and said. But Su Yun ignored him, pointed at him, and turned to ask Sword Ancestor, Master Ancestor, do you plan to kill this person? No, just repel him. Sword Ancestor looked at the large rock between the two of them and said, this person sealed one of my souls into the array formation under this strange stone and used it as the array source. If I do not take back that soul, I will not be able to collect all of my 3 souls and 7 spirits. This person actually stole Master Ancestor's soul. Su Yun secretly snorted, then asked, how many souls does Master Ancestor have right now? 2 souls and 3 spirits. If that's the case, then I've already gathered half of it. Su Yun was a little excited, but even more surprised. 2 souls and 3 spirits. This was only half of it. Did Sword Ancestor have such strength? Even he, who was a spirit god, could not see through the Sword Ancestor at this time. If he gathered all of his 3 souls and 7 spirits, what cultivation level would he be at? Could the 2 words spirit profound still describe him? This soul is extremely important to me. If I can seize it, my soul will be able to return to its original position, and my strength will definitely increase greatly. It will be much easier to seize the remaining 4 souls. But this person is not simple. He is a genius in the martial way. He almost never uses any immortal techniques, but he has a body of exquisite martial arts that ordinary people can't imagine. He is extremely powerful. It is not easy to defeat such a person. Your swordsmanship is not bad either. It's a pity that you met me. The martial god said solemnly. Su Yun held onto the lotus star sword tightly, his eyes becoming gloomy. I am Su Yun. Maybe Senior Martial God has not heard of me, but that is not important. Since I am here, I will naturally help Master Ancestor and take back his soul, but I wonder why Senior Martial God wants to use Master Ancestor's soul as the array origin. Can't Senior find another dead object to replace it? There is nothing purer and more suitable than his soul. My great formation, my divine stone, is related to whether or not I can truly surpass my peak, surpass my limits, and whether or not I can go a step further and become an existence that controls everything in the world. I cannot be careless, weak fellow. If you really want to take back this soul, you have to rely on your own abilities to defeat me and suppress me with force. If you can do this, this soul will be returned to you. The martial god said loudly. Hearing that, Su Yun raised the lotus star sword in his hand. The sword tip pointed straight at him and said, then, come. Chapter 1148. Seeing that Su Yun had agreed so readily, the war god immediately laughed out loud. What a confident fellow. Hee, this old man has not seen an existence as courageous as you in a long time. Good, very good. Since you dare to fight me, then come. With that, the war god assumed a stance. He took a step back and a step forward, his hands forming fists. He faced Su Yun, as though he was in a horse stance, looking extremely comical. But Sword Ancestor's face changed slightly. He shouted in a low voice, Su Yun, don't be rash. You still don't understand how powerful this guy is. If you rashly attack, you will definitely suffer a huge loss. Master Ancestor, you mean you stay at the side, wait for me to fight him for a while, then you go up, This guy, if he fights with others, he will not rest until he dies. He will definitely kill you if you do not know his tricks. If you make a mistake, I am afraid you will lose your life." The sword ancestor said in an extremely serious tone. Su Yun was startled. He wanted to say something, but the sword ancestor immediately shouted, "War God, there is still no result between us. What? You don't want to fight with me anymore? Are you afraid of me?" "Afraid?" The war god shook his head lightly. "Sword ancestor, this is not the first time we have met. Do you think I am someone who is easily provoked? Then fight with me first, and after we decide who is stronger, you can fight with this junior. Otherwise, once he comes over, you'll have to fight with this junior. If word of this gets out, wouldn't you say that you, the war god, are bullying the weak?" The sword ancestor said again. Hearing that, the war god sneered. "Sword ancestor, don't think too highly of yourself. And forget it, the current you is no longer my opponent. If you had gathered your soul, I would still be afraid of you. But the current you is simply insignificant. The guy over there looks like he is only SOSO. Since you guys want to play, I will accompany you guys. This strange stone still needs a few days to sublimate. I have plenty of time after I kill you. I will take care of that guy over there. Your blood might be able to help me accelerate this divine stone, allowing me to complete my plan as soon as possible." With that, the war god retracted his stance and walked towards Sword Ancestor. He looked indifferent, as though he did not place Sword Ancestor in his eyes at all. How arrogant! Su Yun narrowed his eyes. He's not being arrogant. Just then, a melodious female voice sounded out in Su Yun's mind, causing Su Yun's entire body to tremble. "Qingyu? I didn't expect there to be such a capable person in this world. Ling Qing, you seem to be paying attention to the battle between the Sword Ancestor and the Martial God," and sighed. Su Yun was startled. He did not understand. Ling Qingyu's cultivation was not high. How could she understand such a level of battle? But what did Ling Qingyu mean by that? Su Yun turned his head and once again sized up the Martial God. But this time, he seriously examined the Martial God and realized that this seemingly careless and arrogant Martial God was actually extremely serious. Every step he took seemed to be extremely casual on the surface, but the spot where his feet landed was a spot that could be attacked and defended at the same time. Furthermore, the moment his feet landed, Su Yun could clearly feel that the strength in his body was shrinking and condensing. It was precisely because of his seemingly free and easy steps that his aura and strength were able to rise so quickly in such a short period of time, and his entire being had entered a state of battle. He had never been careless. Even though his eyes were filled with the meaning of looking down on all living beings in the world, he had never underestimated any opponent. "It's begun." As a martial god walked, he spoke. The moment the word "gone" landed on the ground, his entire body disappeared. Su Yun's face changed. He immediately looked around and realized that the entire martial god peak was enveloped by a strong and indescribable magnetic field, and the sky had also changed. A large number of auspicious clouds turned into a whirlpool, crashing towards him, but when they got close, they all disappeared. "Open! Help!" When the child who was still crawling on the ground saw that the martial god had already made his move, he was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He immediately ran to the edge of the martial god peak and hugged his head, looking like he was at a loss of what to do. He no longer had the demeanor of a martial god sect leader. Su Yun had long ignored this guy. At the moment, he was more concerned about the martial god's current position. Rumble, 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 rumble. Just then, the air suddenly started to tremble like a curtain being blown by the wind, creating layers of light waves, and the place where the light waves were shaking was around Sword Ancestor. Sword Ancestor's expression was extremely focused. His eyes swept across his surroundings, but very quickly he closed his eyes and the light yellow sword in his hand was raised by him. Crash! Suddenly, the light yellow sword turned into smoke and disappeared. Seeing that, Su Yun suddenly realized that this sword was formed from the condensed chi of the Sword Ancestor. The sword turned into smoke and drilled into Sword Ancestor's fingertip. A golden chi whip swayed along with his fingertip. "Su Yun, you have to watch carefully. Although this battle is my battle, It will also be your battle. Sword Ancestor closed his eyes and slowly muttered. Su Yun nodded his head. He did not even dare to open his eyes and looked over. Whiz. Suddenly, Sword Ancestor disappeared as well. Su Yun opened his eyes wide. He wanted to catch the figures of the two, but he could not find any traces of them. He could feel that Sword Ancestor and Martial God were nearby, but the surrounding air did not even tremble. Only the space was constantly rippling. The two of them have already transcended the mortal realm and entered the saint realm. If you want to witness the battle between them, you can't do it with your naked eye. What you need to do is to rely on your mind's eye. Just then, Ling Qingyu's voice floated out. Mind's eye, right? Qingyu, you're right. The game between the two of them can no longer be measured by conventional methods. Su Yun was awakened. He immediately closed his eyes and used his own soul to feel it. Gradually, he was able to capture a bit of movement in his surroundings, and according to this movement, images began to appear in his mind. It was a very blurry image, but this image allowed Su Yun to clearly observe the game between Sword Ancestor and Martial God. He gradually became serious and proficient, and the scene also became clearer and clearer. The Sword Ancestor had been famous for a long time, and had left behind an illustrious name in the myriad heavens realm. Even in the immortal world, many immortals respected and feared him, showing how powerful he was. Although he only had 2 souls and 3 souls, the strength he displayed was truly astonishing. The whip in his hand was like a living body dancing in the air. His body was abnormally light and agile, and with a light movement of his arms, the whip would be flung away. Every time he was about to attack, the whip would straighten up into a sword and pierce forward, and if he was defending, it would become a thread and tie up the fist of the martial god. Although Sword Ancestor's moves were not considered gorgeous, they were extremely practical. However, if they were to fight head-on, the current Sword Ancestor was obviously not a match for the martial god. The martial god seemed to be aware of his huge disadvantage. Every attack was launched at the same time Sword Ancestor launched an attack. He wanted to fight with Sword Ancestor, and if Sword Ancestor attacked, it would be difficult to defend, and if he withdrew his attack to defend, the time would be too short, and the defense he made would not be perfect, and he would more or less suffer some losses. The martial god accurately and craftily grasped this point. So every time he waited for Sword Ancestor to attack, he was sure that Sword Ancestor would not dare to fight him head-on. He would not die immediately after receiving Sword Ancestor's sword. But if Sword Ancestor took a punch from him, although he would not die, he would definitely lose a large portion of his fighting strength, and it would be difficult for him to hold on for long. So ruthless. Su Yun clenched his teeth. It's also very despicable, but this is the most effective and unsolvable way to quickly defeat Sword Ancestor. Ling Qingyu said indifferently. You can see through his plan, Sword Ancestor can see through it even more, but how can you break it? The martial god had practically crippled Sword Ancestor's attack, and Sword Ancestor could only defend, but this defense was equivalent to half losing. Su Yun, didn't you notice? While the martial god was attacking crazily, he was also constantly on guard against Sword Ancestor's other methods. He knew that Sword Ancestor was not simple, so every time he attacked, although he did not exhaust any of his strength, after the attack ended, he would instantly change his defense. The time he took to change his defense was very short, and the duration was also very short, maybe not even a moment, but in this extremely short period of time, I believe that he had enough time to consider his next move. He really is a genius. Otherwise, how could he be called the martial god? Right now, when he is fighting with Sword Ancestor, he is only relying on brute force. The so-called immortal chi is not being used at all. Ling Qingyu said. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded his head seriously, but he was also curious. Why was Ling Qingyu able to clearly see the battle between Sword Ancestor and martial god? And she was able to see it so carefully? Maybe there were still many secrets on Qingyu that he did not know. Bang. Just then, the martial god attacked again. The Sword Ancestor did not retaliate. He continued to defend. The long sword whip wrapped around the martial god's arm, removing more than half of his strength. But when it hit the Sword Ancestor's body, The sword ancestor could not help but retreat. He stopped moving his body at a high speed and gasped for breath. The current sword ancestor was completely at a disadvantage. Is that all you've got? Although I have an unfair advantage right now, you still have the power of 2 souls and 3 souls, so you should be able to use at least half of your strength. But why did I only use less than 1/10 of my strength to beat you in such a sorry state? The martial god shook his head and said indifferently, "Seems like the legendary sword ancestor is just someone with an undeserved reputation." Hearing that, Su Yun, who was at the side, clenched his fist tightly. "Don't say it too early. I haven't lost yet," the sword ancestor said. Then the sword whip in his hand suddenly disappeared, and behind him, a snow-white sword light rose. The surging sword intent suddenly rose. Like a wave, it swept out in all directions. The entire peak of the martial god realm was filled with sword intent. Su Yun was slightly shocked. He stared at the sword intent. Limitless sword art? That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.